Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Snap Decisions. I am your host with the most, your Snap DJ, and I'm here with a returning guest. I've got Docty with me tonight, man. Docty, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to be back. I've been pretty busy these past few weeks, and even this week or even today, but super excited to be on. I'm glad to get invited back.
I appreciate you making the time. I know you're coming off a SNAPCon, and you had a lot of things going on. So yeah. Well, first off, before we go any further, please tell my audience where they can find you.
Yeah, mainly on YouTube. It's at Docty_Snap. That's where I post all my videos and put out all my content.
Awesome. And of course, doing all those new card reviews. I love it. This is the appointed by the man, of course, Drew Barry, to do that, and that's amazing. And you're doing a great job with it, man. I watch every single week. If you want to know whether or not you should get a new card, Docty's the guy to watch. So covers everything, goes over all the good stuff, and we're gonna go over some of those cards today. I saw your thing about next month and all the cards that you previewed for next month, and I know there's some that you're excited about. And I know there are a lot of people that are just excited about the month overall as a whole.
Oh, yeah.
New activate mechanism and all that kind of stuff coming out too. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a lot more. But first, getting started here, I got to hear, because I couldn't go, and I was so sad I couldn't. I was talking to No Big Deal and the kid. They were there.
Oh, yeah.
And we were chatting a little bit. They had me on, which was cool. But how was SnapCon, man? I need to hear the details because I'm jealous.
Yeah, I mean, you should be. You missed out on a good time. I can't lie. It was a good time. It was super cool. So I went last year. I was very fortunate to go last year, 2023, which was the first year that SnapCon was done. It was in Tampa as well, although a different spot in Tampa. Last year was a convention center. This year it was at the hotel where most people were also staying.
Yeah.
And so it was cool because on one side, it was kind of like a bit of a reunion. You know, I was meeting some people again that I hadn't seen in a year because, of course, it's mostly content creators, but there are some players as well who don't make content, but just, you know, are very active in the community and want to attend. But everyone kind of lives in different places, you know, so I don't see these people on my free time. So it was a year reunion, get to see some great people that I hadn't seen in a year, you know, Tucker, Super Tech God, GC James, Guest Gaming, a lot of people. And then there were a lot of people who I had not met because they did not come last year, 2023. And so I met a lot of people for the first time. And so that was awesome as well. Meeting so many people for the first time in person. It's always a bit different than seeing someone online. I know, you know, usually people meet me and they're like, "Oh, I expected you to be taller." And I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, and I don't know what it is. Like, I'm like 5'9" and a half, you know,
That's not bad. That's pretty tall.
I guess through my videos, people are expecting like 6 feet or higher. So, you know, they're expecting like kind of tall. I don't know, but that's always a funny thing. Like, people are always surprised by other people's heights, and I hear it about other people, or everyone's all about like, "Oh my goodness, Tucker or Guest Gaming, they're so tall." You know, it's like so many people don't realize the giants we have in the community. But so that's always cool. That's always interesting, meeting people for the first time, interacting with them for the first time, the different personalities. And I did meet the kid and No Big Deal, who I just kind of recently became familiar with through their podcast. And they're both very tall. Actually, I didn't expect them to be so tall. And so it was cool meeting them.
Yep.
And, you know, some people Yeah, yeah, and I saw that video where they were in, like, the hotel room and they were chatting with you,
Yes.
and they had, like,
Yeah.
some of the snap cards.
Yeah,
Um,
they called me for that. It was kind of an impromptu thing, but I told them I'm like,
okay.
it'd be kind of cool if you were able to do that. And but yeah, they're both great. I tell them a lot. I probably wouldn't have been doing this if it wasn't for them. I'm a big
Right.
80s nut because I grew up in that era. So when I saw like all the neon and everything, I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna love this show.
Yeah. And I don't know if well, actually, he might have had it during the thing. He had his little wig on,
He did. I
the
saw it, the
headband.
wig and the
So he
shades.
he had that at SnapCon, like, he walked into SnapCon day 1 and
That's
day 2 wearing
fantastic.
that.
That's
But then at the after parties, he didn't have that on, so everyone was like, "Wait, who's that guy?" It's like, "Oh,
Yep.
it's Um, and so, yeah, it was great. It was great meeting with them. I talked to them a lot. It was cool. We had a lot of Power on Gaming people. I'm a member of Power on Gaming. There's a lot of people in
Yep.
the community, and that's led by Super Tech God. And so he got like a place, and we kind of had like some after party or like hangout spots there.
Nice.
So it was like a kind of good like meeting ground post the SnapCon like each day,
Yeah.
and so it was really cool just talking to people I wouldn't normally interact with too much. And they did fun events. I sat on a panel. It was actually the first panel. I think it was day 1, the first panel,
Okay.
deck building. So that was with myself, Prashawn. We had Husky Puppies, Revis, and then Woody, Yo Woody,
Oh,
and
Woody, yeah.
winning the SnapCon tournament. He won the whole tournament on day 2. And so that was always awesome to see, like, seeing the tournament live,
Yeah.
is really special. Last year I played in the tournament. This year I did not play at all because I was just trying to be more casual, not be sweaty at all. Like last year, I was in the tournament, I was all focused, but you kind of get nerves or anxiety.
Yeah,
And then once the
absolutely.
tournament ended, I'm like, okay, now it's time to chill and have fun. And so this year I'm like, you know what, I'm not gonna do the tournament at all. I'm just gonna chill and have fun the whole time, especially with kind of the tournament's going on while stuff is going on the stage.
Mm,
So they're streaming stuff on Twitch. It's mostly streamed on Felicity's Twitch channel.
yeah.
And they had the game shows streamed, the panels streamed. But while they're streaming stuff, the tournament thing is happening. It's happening at the same time, and so
Okay.
that's streamed on like the Power On channel or Default Dan's Twitch. But sometimes it's tough. And I remember last year, because I was in some game shows last year, that I would be about to play a game, but then I had to go up to be a game show, and I'd have to tell the person to like wait, or it kind of conflicts a bit. And so this year, knowing I was going to be on a panel and on a couple of the game shows, I'm like, I'm not going to deal with that. I'm just going to not do the tournament. I'll just spectate, but I don't want to have to cancel one or the other because they're happening at the same time. Because it's a bit of a struggle is the only downside to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But it's super fun being in the game shows. And we had this one group team battle, and then we also did Snap Pictionary.
Oh man.
Uh, and we did that last year. So last year, actually, it was myself, it was Tucker, it was Rocco Sacco, who ended up winning the SnapCon tournament last year, 2023, and then Eddie A. And we won. We
Nice.
won the Snap Pictionary. And so this year, me and Tucker were there, and we went to defend our title, and we did. So we
Nice.
won again. So this time it was me, Tucker, Loopy Fist, and a party. And so me and Tucker now are defending champions. So that's actually been my favorite game. Most look forward to, because you're allowed to use colors in that, and you're drawing it.
Mm,
It's Pictionary where you're drawing it on the screen. It's like the computer, and there's 2 teams, and the audience can see what both teams are drawing, on like the stream or their TV. And so you're trying to get your team to guess what you're drawing, but you can use colors. And so we'd be like, okay, you start out with the color of the character. Like if I start drawing green, I want you just rambling off Hulk, She-Hulk, Scar, like every
green
green character you
characters. Yeah.
can,
Yep.
Scorpion, all that. And so it was kind of a meme from last year that we drew like a blue line, and the team guesses Iceman, and we get it, and the other team's really salty. They're like, how would you get that? Like, what is that? You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so we did that again this year. But Loopy Fist apparently is colorblind.
Oh
And so
no.
he kept drawing green. He would be drawing green, and we're guessing. We're like, is it lizard, scorpion, all this stuff? And he'd be like, oh, it was Jessica Jones. We're like, what?
That would be
What are you,
bad. That puts a kibosh
you were like, what are you talking?
system.
And
Yeah,
so that was kind of another funny moment. Is like
that's
three
great.
times in a row he drew green, but the characters weren't green at all.
Oh my
And then
god.
finally he got actually like a green one. And then yeah, but when we ended up winning, that's always a fun. I love doing the game shows. It's nice again. We're all content creators. Well, mostly. I mean, there are people there who aren't content creators,
Yeah.
but primarily it's streamers. A lot of people who make content. Some people do it full time for a living.
Yep.
You always focus on trying to make good content or get views, or, all this stuff. But it's nice, and kind of another reason why I really enjoyed not playing in the tournament this year. I just went to hang out. I was there
Yep.
for the good time and the vibes. And so I'm able to just play games. It's like one big party. You're able to just, do these different games, interactions with people. It was really cool. And so that's my favorite part. It's just the interactions. I like watching the tournament. I like listening to the panels a bit. But more so, it's just cool to hang out with these people. And they're all, very creative people, very unique. Obviously, we all have something in common. We all
Yeah.
play Marvel Snap. Some of us make content for Marvel Snap, but at a base, we all play. But it's a lot of really creative, really intelligent people. Like everyone again is from different places. There's a lot of people from Florida where the event was held, but there's a lot of people from New York area, from West Coast like me. A few Canadians there,
Nice.
right? And guest is from Brazil. We got Hannah and some other people from the UK, and so you just meet a lot of like-minded people,
Yep.
and it's really special. So it's just a cool gathering. So I'm
That's
definitely
awesome.
hyped for what's to come next year.
Yeah, yeah. I had Felicity on, and she talked all about it, and I got like really, really hyped up to do it. But yeah, I would probably do the same thing you did. I would probably want to take it all in.
Yeah,
So like, because I know they talked about the game shows, that had to be funny. I was thinking about when you told me what you were doing. I'm like, well, that's really smart with the Pictionary, because you literally could draw, like, if you got Omega Red, you draw an Omega symbol and put a red mark next to it. So
yeah.
like, there's ways you can do that and start with the colors. I used to love. We had. I remember they had. Games like that. Like there used to be a game show on years ago when I was younger called Win, Lose, or Draw. Very, very similar to Pictionary.
Okay.
And we used to play it with the family all the time, and I loved it. We had a blast playing that. And so, yeah, that's more than likely what I would do too. I'd probably stay away from the tournament and probably like want to take all that stuff in. But yeah, that's great. I'm glad to hear that it's going well. Obviously, kudos to Felicity for everything she
Oh yeah.
does and all the work she does to make that happen. I know, when I used to DJ, I can remember being involved with some bigger events and stuff like that, and that is not easy.
Nope.
All the preparation and the time and the money and everything like that. Now I know she got a sponsor, which is fantastic. That helps.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it's great, man. I know I've heard nothing but good things. The people who I have talked to a little bit, besides yourself, no big deal, and the kid, I've talked to some people online a little bit about it, and everybody said the same thing. They said it was an absolute blast.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, that for sure, it is a goal of mine. I am getting down there next year for sure. I hope they have it again. I said to her when she was on, I said, I want to put names or faces to names. I said,
Yeah.
I've talked to so many people on my show that I said it would be great to actually come face to face and actually meet everybody who I had on. And I know a lot of people have been down there, especially from Power On. Like I've had Prashan on, I've had Super Tech God on, I've had yourself. I've obviously so many people. And yeah, it would be amazing. So that's awesome. I'm glad you enjoyed yourself. I heard the same thing from the kid in No Big Deal. They said the same thing on their show this past couple. I think they did their show on Sunday. I watched it today, but they said the same thing. They said they had an absolute blast. They said they were. I think No Big Deal played in the tournament, but he said he kind of like half played. Like he was like, yeah, I wasn't like he said what you. He said I wasn't sweaty about it. If I lost, I lost. I
Yeah.
didn't care that much, and so. But yeah, that's great. And I love that. I think that's a fantastic idea. Have it in the same hotel where people could stay too. That's really convenient for everybody.
Uh-huh.
And then, you don't really have to do a lot of traveling and stuff like that. So that's good. No, I'm glad to hear that. I love it. And it's a thing like that that keeps these games kind of alive, right? Like keeps them going, to know that there's camaraderie out there. There's a lot of people who know each other, and like you said, just great people that do this. And yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and I'm glad it was a good time.
Yeah, we'll see where if it changes locations next year.
Okay.
We'll see what happens. Where there's always no set plans. Even after
Yeah.
the first one in 2023, we had to wait a while to hear if it was going to happen again, and Felicity luckily put it on again. So, but now Felicity is a member of Power on Gaming, and they were one of the sponsors. They were one of the biggest sponsors for the event, and there's a lot of Power on Gaming people that attended, and Super Tech God as well as some other people are around the New York area.
Yep.
There's a couple, of course, in Florida. I'm on the West Coast. We got some other people West Coast. So, there's potential to do it the same place. There's a potential to move around a bit now that maybe there's more helping hands if we kind of put in more power on people instead of putting all the weight on Felicity to do it. So we're gonna have to wait and see. It's kind of up to Felicity how that goes, the process, but I'm excited for it, and I'm pretty confident that it will happen again next year in some form, whether it's same location or a different spot.
Come on up to New York, man. That's a literal drive for me. I could drive.
Exactly. That'd be good for you. Yeah, I know.
Oh man. Yeah, that's awesome. That's fantastic. I love to hear that. That's great. And I know, I guess I have not, everyone whom I've had the pleasure of talking to has been fantastic. Everybody's been so kind and everything like that to someone new that came on that just started doing this a little while ago. So I love it. I love to hear that. That's awesome. So very cool. All right. Well, we are going to get into some stuff. So there's a lot going on in Snap, and I talked about, I did my audio pod a little bit earlier today, but I talked about it. Like, this is, other than Loki, this is it's a pretty fun time to be playing this game. I mean, we have a new season coming up with a new mechanic that's going to go in the cards. There are something called Snap Packs that are coming out that were mentioned in the data mines, which nobody really knows what they are. I was guessing a little bit, looking at those data mine cards at what I think it could be. But yeah, I'll get your opinion and stuff on that too. So, but yeah, let's take a look at, obviously we're in the last week of this season. So we're going with, now I wanted to bring this up too. For those are listening and haven't listened to the audio part today, I am now part of we've got this little thing going on in Snap Judgments. So very cool. It's myself, obviously the kid, and no big deal. And we also have a new podcast coming out with Lauren and Ben Roller and Ree. And then, of course, Snap Judgments, Glazer himself, that does a pod every single weekend. So we're in a pod network. So it's very cool. I was very honored to be invited to be a part of it. And yeah, so wanted to put that up there. The little logo Lauren did with the little the Living Tribunal with headphones, which I thought that was kind of cool. So yeah, just wanted to get that out there to everybody, just to let you know that we're all doing that. It's kind of a little place that you can go to hear some very cool content creators. So, all right. So let's start. I guess we'll start here. Let me see. I'm not sure. Let's see if I have any of the older slides, or if we have just the new ones here. Well, you know what? Before we go there, let me start with, obviously tomorrow, Emperor HULKLING comes out. So I know you've already done your review of the card, but for maybe some of my listeners who hadn't necessarily listened to yours yet, I don't know why they wouldn't, or hadn't watched it. What are your thoughts, obviously, tomorrow on Emperor HULKLING, and whether or not the cash isn't great? Cannonball's in there. Cannonball's not played that much anymore. Junk decks maybe here and there, and then Nimrod, who's really only played in Phoenix Force for the most part. So yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts about tomorrow's card and the last card of the Avengers season?
Yeah, and I'm excited to hear your thoughts as well. The pretty overwhelming opinion that I share with most people, it seems like, is that he seems a bit underwhelming.
Yeah.
Emperor HULKLING. And, he's not a bad card by any means. Like, he looks decent, but it's just it's a bit of an odd ability for a 12 card deck. Like, he's a 6/11 that's copying the ability of a random 6-cost card. And so if, he hits Mockingbird, well, Mockingbird's a really good card. So you're like, okay, well, that's a good hit on Hulkling. It's a 1 in 29 chance, by the way. There's like 29 6-cost cards in the game. But I mean,
pretty low, yeah.
there's hits that are good, okay? But let's say he hits Mockingbird, you're happy with that. But if your deck benefits from Mockingbird, like if you have a bunch of, cards that didn't start in your deck that you get on the board, well, then you're just going to play Mockingbird. It's while Hulkling seems decent, it's hard to find a reason to run him instead of just running the 6 cost that synergizes. If he gets generated by Arishem, so you didn't put him in your deck, but Arishem generates him, he'll probably feel good. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's just a bit weird to run him. He can't really be your go-to 6 cost. He's more of a backup because he's inconsistent. And maybe he gets a duplicate. That's the only time he's actually unique. If you actually had Mockingbird in your deck and you had Hulkling, and you got lucky and Hulkling copied Mockingbird, well, now that's a unique situation that he would actually be needed for.
Yeah.
But obviously, it's a 1 in 29 chance. As more 6-cost cards enter the game, that chance is smaller and smaller. So it's just weird right now. It's not clear why he's needed. He's a good general fit. He's flexible, but you could just play Red Hulk, and it's going to be Red Hulk every time.
Yeah.
So it's just a bit confusing, I guess. No one's really figured out what the point of this card is, like what it does that makes it worth running. Just because it's decent doesn't mean you're gonna, replace one of your precious cards in a 12-card deck with a decent card, right? It's going to be decent, but it's just not clear why you would run it over another 6 cost.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I mean, I went through and I did like a little top 5 on my show today, and it was about the top 6 or the best 6 cards you can pull with him. I mean, obviously for me, one of them's Galactus. You get Galactus with that card. I mean, you got an 11 power Galactus, which is pretty darn good.
I'm not sure it is.
No, yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, yeah, that's true because you're still playing it on turn 6. So yeah, that's true. I mean,
but even if you, if you get it on turn 6, if your opponent has a small lane, which is crazy. Galactus is only 5 power now because like you look at these 3 drops and the amount of power they put out.
Yeah.
Like having a lane with less than 5 power is like crazy hard to do now. You know what I mean? 100%. Like Cassandra Nova, Sage. So if he does get Galactus on turn 6, Galactus, it's good. But if you get him out early, or if you don't have a lane to trigger, if you don't have a lane to trigger, he's a 6/11, or if you get him out early, it's like, well, your deck's probably not built for Galactus, right? If you're playing a Galactus deck, you have Cannibal. And so that's kind of the weird thing, is if your deck's built well for Galactus, you're going to be playing Galactus. So maybe you have a deck with Galactus and Hulkling.
Yeah.
And there's some decks out there. I covered one. I actually did the video for Glazer. He just came back from vacation. Today's his birthday, actually, I believe. Today's his birthday.
Happy birthday, Glazer.
So happy birthday, yeah. And then there was one deck, I believe it was made by Den, and it's a Galactus deck that has some destroy stuff. It has Null in it. It also has Hulkling. And so there's a decent chance that Hulkling, copies a Galactus, or the maybe it had Destroyer or Null. There's a couple of targets. If you have 3 other 6 costs in your deck, now he's got about 1 in 10 chance to get a duplicate, which could actually be decent.
Yep.
But if you're not playing a Galactus deck to start, you may not want Hulkling to be Galactic. It's kind of a tough thing. But there are some that he's just objectively better than because the power, right? Dr. Doom, Leader, Blob. But it's just tough. So many 6 costs. Like that's a big cost. That's the most expensive outside of Arishem Death. That's the most expensive thing in the game. So usually 6 costs really synergize. Like even if you get a Spectrum, he's 5 more power than the Spectrum. Okay, great. Oh, wow, you have no ongoings in this deck because you didn't plan for him to get Spectrum. You just have a Hulkling. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's hard with the 6 costs. Like looking at their abilities, there's not many just generally good stuff. And the ones that are generally good are all like 10, 11, or 12 power, which is the same as Hulkling. He's not really, besides Leader and Dr. Doom and, a couple others, he's not really adding much power. So it's just going to be awkward because you're going to see some times where you get a Galactus and you're happy, but then the board state doesn't like work that way, or you can't
Yeah.
ramp them out because you're not playing wave because you didn't expect galactic. It's just going to be awkward, I think, sometimes.
Yeah. No, yeah, I would agree. Yeah. I mean, well, and I think you touched on the other ones. I think I had Blob on there. I had
Yeah, that's a good one.
Doom on there. I mean, it's just a bigger point Doctor Doom, but you're getting the same effect. Leader, I think I may have had on the list as well. Because Leader's pretty good. And then you're
Artem Zola's pretty good.
Yeah, Zola's pretty good. Yeah. So there are that handful of good pulls that you can get. But yeah, I would agree with you. Like in fact, I think I told the people who were listening to my show that it probably is a skippable week, especially considering you're going into next month.
And it looks so good. Next month looks so good.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It really does. Yeah, it really does. And considering the fact that the spotlights aren't great either, like I said, like Nimrod, literally one deck out there that it plays in for the most part, and you know, and Cannonball, which definitely took a big hit when the Professor X thing happened. So, but yeah, I would agree with you. Your assessment on that, I think that's about right. Yeah, it's a funny card because this is pretty good. It was pretty good month, like up till now. Like the cards were pretty decent. Like even Speed is a little boring, I think. But still,
yeah.
it's
pretty. Yeah, he's boring, but he's decent. I mean, he's just decent power. So
yeah, and then I mean, Kate was awesome. She was really good.
Kate, Marvel Boy, they go
Marvel
hard.
Boy were fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. I think it was a good month overall. So, but yeah, I'm sure you could go back and of course watch Docty's videos. He'll explain it all. But yeah, I probably would say to maybe, watch this card a little bit and probably maybe think about saving your resources for the month that we've got coming up. So, but yeah, I mean, just a general overview of what you thought about the Young Avengers month overall.
I thought it was good. As you mentioned, we had some really solid cards. Kate Bishop, really strong, especially the Acid Era. That thing is killer.
Oh my gosh,
that thing probably gets changed to a -1 power. I mean, that thing's so good.
Yeah,
you hope you get it every time. But even other than that, she's decent, good utility. Marvel Boy, he's fine. I was worried he would maybe look a bit overpowered right away, but he feels okay. He's definitely strong, but I'm not sure he's too strong. Wiccan was better than I thought he would be. He's mainly being paired with Loki, so a lot, which is kind of awkward. Like most things paired with Loki are really good. So
Gosh, yeah.
But even outside of Loki, he seems fine. Speed is boring but fine, and we've had some good spotlight weeks. Actually, there were just some. We had Jeff in spotlights, Loki, Red Hulk. Really, all the spotlight weeks except for this Hulkling one. Have been really solid. Where you could probably spend keys on and get good stuff from.
Yep. The Jeff week was cool. I ended up having I hate doing it, but I ended up blowing the tokens on the ultimate one because it was a killer whale, and I've always loved killer whales.
The Peach Momoko Venomized one.
Yeah,
I guess it does look like a killer whale, huh? It looks like
he's black and white. I'm like, yeah, it definitely looks. It's not a shark. It definitely looks like a killer whale for sure. So I was like. But yeah, I had to get that one, and the other ones were cool. What did you think? So, what are your thoughts on? Now, this is the second one we've had. What are your thoughts on leagues? Like, so obviously we know the first one was a debacle because everybody just cheated because they found out you just can cheat.
The proving grounds thing.
Now I heard actually that there were some people who were cheating on this one too because they said if you didn't update your game, that you could still do it. But I mean. This one to me, now I had thought for sure, and I was listening to another podcast, and they were talking about that. They assumed that this particular league was going to be for the Jeff emote because there's a Jeff emote out there, and so everybody kind of thought, oh, this must, and all it was boosters. So I mean, I'm like, that really didn't lead me to want to do it all that much. I mean, yeah, the border and stuff was there, but it's like, yeah. But now they took Conquest out, so Conquest is no longer a factor in it. It's just playing ladder. So, I mean, we're 2 times into this. I made an observation and said, because I seem to talk to a lot of people who maybe are a little more casual players, people that listen to my show come and tell me, to me, it's not a casual thing. I don't think you can be a real casual player and do well with that because especially the ones who get the top 3 spots, if that's what you're aiming for, they play a lot. and you can tell like the difference usually between the top 3 and the rest of that field. So, so yeah, what are your thoughts on League so far? At least, I mean, I guess the good thing is we didn't get the monetization part of it, which I'm glad for that, and I hope that stays that way. But you know, I mean, what's your initial thoughts on leagues?
Yeah, no, I have the same viewpoint as you. I've some people in my Discord who really play a lot, like they grind away all the time. They did alliances, they get really high points.
Mhm.
They were sharing their league, trying to get like max points or like top 3. And so they enjoyed it. It's not for me. I'm
Yeah.
not one of those people who grinds away. I don't spam games. I mainly just do it in my weekday missions. I like testing out different decks,
Mhm.
trying to kind of test out stuff maybe for the new cards coming out. Just think, oh, this deck might work well with it. Let me try out this deck with kind of a similar card first, kind of thing. Um, and so it's just not for me, and so that's okay. They have mentioned that they're gonna have, free versions and like paid versions of leagues, and you can enter which one you want. So we'll see how that goes. But it does seem like for now, it's like if you want to participate and pay attention to your league points and grind for it, you can. And if you don't want to, you don't, and then you just get free boosters. Like I just
Mhm.
went to open my shop and the reset, and it was just like, oh hey, like you got, I don't know, like 15th in your league or 20, whatever I got. And it was like, oh, here's some free Jeff boosters. I'm like, cool. I didn't pay attention to it. I didn't have to do anything.
Yep.
I just got some free stuff. So um, I know some people are annoyed by the little thing. Like anytime you win or lose a game, it pops up at the side. And it's like, oh, you won points or you lose points. So I could see where that kind of feels bad for people if you're not paying attention to the league, but you're being reminded that you're like losing points in it or something.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think it's implemented well, and the rewards weren't crazy. Even if it had the emote, I probably wouldn't have played for it. It's just not for
Yeah.
me, and I don't mind. Like I don't get bad FOMO. Really, it's only a problem if you have FOMO because it's just free stuff for everybody in the end.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree. It's very true. And how's your what's your impression on alliances? I love the alliances thing. I really do. The little things they added to it this past time, the change in missions, which I enjoyed because the missions were getting a little monotonous. It was always kind of the
Some
same
are
thing.
tedious, yeah.
Yeah. But like you, like the one I have, man, I've got some people that are like, 20,000 alliance points. And I'm
Yeah.
like, then I sit there and I feel bad. I'm like, I'm the guild leader or the alliance leader. I'm supposed to have, and I'm sitting there at like 2,000. And I'm just, but yeah, I think they're cool. Like you said, like I'm very similar to a player to the way you do. I would come in, I would do my dailies, weekend missions. I would always do them. And now I can come in and I can look to see, okay, which of these missions do I have for the alliance that I can go in and I can play a different deck. Move seems to be one of the big ones, move a bunch of cards and stuff. So I would go and play a move
Yeah.
deck, which I never touched. I was never a move player at all, which I guess I better get good at because next month is going to be a big move month.
That's
Um,
true.
but yeah, I don't know. I think these little things, and this is why, like a little bit later on, and then talk about some of the other new stuff that they're doing, but they are implementing new stuff. And I know a lot of people, the last time I talked to you, we were probably talking about that debacle that they had with that big announcement of their board and what they're working on and all that kind of stuff. But they have to, people have to be pleased at the very least with the fact that they are doing new things. They're trying new things. We came through Deadpool's Diner. Yes, there were some hiccups there, but all in all, I think for the most part, people got the new card. With the amount of people who were playing Cassandra, I would believe that. So they're trying. At least it looks like they're doing new things. They're making new games. And now this coming month, we're going to have all new way to play this game because Activate is going to be a new mechanic that everybody's going to have to learn. Everybody from the best players to the worst are going to have to learn how to use it. So I don't know. I'm pretty happy with the way that the game is right now. I think that they're making it a little more interesting for people, and they're trying to add in new things.
Yeah, I agree. With alliances, same thing. I have an alliance and I'm usually like bottom 5 or bottom
Me
10.
too.
Like I just try and get to 2,000. I think the first week maybe I hit 4,000, but since then I just get to like the 2,000 mark. So I don't get my full rewards, but some people in my alliance, they just kill it. They get so many
Yep.
points. Um, and so it's just free stuff for everybody. Again, even if you're in an alliance and you don't get the max rewards, you're still getting free stuff. just extra credits, right? Alliance are free to be a part of. Deadpool's Diner was free to be a part of. These leagues are free to be a part of. If you want to commit to it and get max rewards, you pay time. You don't pay in-game resources, but people have been complaining about the amount of in-game resources stuff takes. So now it's like Second's like, okay, we're not going to charge you, but you're going to have to play more. You're going to have to spend more time.
Yeah.
And, they need to get benefits somehow, right? Obviously, if a bundle is expensive, and you're spending $100, they're getting your money. But if they're doing these features, they're getting your time, and time is good for them. They want more play time.
Sure.
The more you're playing the game, the better their numbers look. It helps on their side with like funding and advertisement. If people are playing the game more, they're more likely to spend. So it's always a trade-off, right? They're giving you something, you got to give them something, whether it's money, in-game resources that you spend time building up, or just your direct time. And so it's kind of hard to acknowledge that, like, with Deadpool's Diner, you mentioned, some people felt like it was a really big grind. It's like, yeah, you're getting this Series 5 card for time. Like, instead of paying, tokens or key, you're paying time. You have to be paying something.
Yeah.
And everything works like that. Like, it's a two-way street, because they're creating this game for you. So I think everything has been very fair. I think overall, you do hear maybe a bit of the loud minority, because I think overall people are very happy to get Cassandra Nova for free. If they do it again with another card, people will play it a lot again. And so I think overall people are happy with the resources that they're able to get by, just putting a bit more time into the game.
Yeah.
So it's been going well. It's on a good track. We've had, the start of this year was a bit of a lull.
Mm-hmm.
People were asking for new stuff. When's the next new thing coming? We've heard of alliances. They're not here yet. We've heard of this. It's not here yet. And then Second Dinner told us, hey, it's coming in summer. Like, we got big plans for summer. And some people are like, okay, they're just going to sell us something. It's just going to be monetized. It's going to be lame. But here we are in summer, and we're getting all these new things. I mean, they're big. They're big things. They've clearly spent a lot of time making and developing. And it's finally here. And so it's good. I think it's a good time to be playing Snap. If you're a new player coming in, you're like, oh, there's all these things here. There's so much to do now, So
yeah.
I think they've been doing a good job. I think they've been on the come up a bit. They've been, improving what they give to players, and, how much their game is offering to players.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good. It's moving in a good direction, I feel. Maybe not everyone feels that way, but that's how I feel.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think so too. I mean, it's funny. I've been a gamer all my life, practically. I mean, I've been playing video games since I was about probably 10. But I think people forget that there's commitment to every game that you play in one way or another.
Yes.
Like, I was a big RPGer, so I'm going, Final Fantasy is one of my favorite games of all time, and I've played most of all of them except for the online one. But it's like you were saying, I love the statement. It takes time. That's the thing. And I can remember I'd be up till 2, 3, 4 a.m. sometimes, the sun coming up, playing that game, because I didn't want to stop playing because I love the story so much. Yeah. But talk about devoting time. That's exactly what it is. And listen, that's what the gamers, these game developers, that's what they've got to get from you. They want to get you playing this game. They want to get your time. That's why, I know I was a big a Blizzard fan, so I loved, I was a World of Warcraft player for years. I loved Diablo, stuff like that. So, and I got the most recent one, and I was excited for it. It was a little underwhelming at first, and I thought, it's graphically, it looks amazing, but it just didn't have something. And then all of a sudden, I see they're coming out. I let it go for a little bit, and then I see patches start to come out. Things start to change and things that I'm like, and then I have people calling me and be like, hey, this is really good now. You should come back. You should try this. It's gotten a lot better. So I think all these companies realize that look, they're not going to be able to hold your attention for every minute of every day, especially mobile gamers, because, there are so few, and we talked about this before the show started. There's so few games out there. And I used Candy Crush as an example, that last that long. Most of these don't make it. Let's face it. Some of them stick around forever, but most of them don't make it. And so, and I think people have to realize that, hey, I preach about being casual. I am certainly not a person who can sit down with this game for hours a day. I don't have the time. That said, I pick a time during the day and I'm like, I don't want to get too far behind. So like you said, I go and do my missions and I do this and I do that. But I'll set aside an hour or an hour and a half or so at night sometimes when I'm sitting and watching TV or I'm doing something else that I would have been doing something otherwise to do it. So, you know, a lot of people who complain, look, I don't really know sometimes like what the answers are or what they want out of it, because it is just a mobile game. But yeah, like you, I think they're doing a good job. I really do. And I think I think there's more to come from what I'm seeing. And the stuff that we're going to talk about in a little bit. I think it's going to be a fun end to this season or this year, I think.
Yeah. And just not to take it too, I guess, large scale or out of scope, but you know, I think people, they view fun differently. Like they view games as something that you just own and now it's completely fun. It should always be fun and that's it.
Yep.
And as if there's no trade-off. And to be fair, I mean, growing up, like I was an Xbox kid, so sure, I played some stuff Xbox Live, but you know, I'd have some games, or you know, even Skyrim. I played a ton of Skyrim, and so that when you buy once, and then you can just play like forever, and it's fun. The time you put into the game doesn't matter for the developer; like they already sold you the game, you know.
Right.
But most things in life, in reality, like pretty much everything takes time. You know, you go to work, they pay you money. Well, because you gave them your time. You go to, I don't know, the movies to have fun. Well, you paid for a ticket. Like everything costs something. And, you know, you want food, you pay for food, obviously. And so, you know, it's everything. Everything in life costs, because it's a trade off, right? I'm giving you this, you give me this. I'm playing your video game. You're giving me this video game to play. You're putting these cards in the game, this artwork in the game. You coded it for me. Like I couldn't do all this myself. You're giving me this. I have to give you something back. I mean, it's just, you know, I mean, it only makes sense for both parties, right? And if I don't want what you're giving me, I don't want to play Marvel, then I'm not going to play it, right? And so if I'm accepting it, though, I need to give you my time, or especially if I want everything in it. And so it's up to you to demand what you want from me. You know, you're telling me the price of your game or the time commitment of your game, just like you go to buy a shirt and, you know, the store is telling you how much the shirt costs or something. So yeah, it's just, I think when we think about video games, though, we get so wrapped up in thinking like this is ours, or you know, you have a game or you have a deck. Oh, this is my deck, or this is my game. This is how I want it to work. And you see people, you know, propose like, I wish they did this. If I was a developer, I would, you know, do this with this card. Like it's so easy to kind of be so in the game and, you know, like it so much and kind of be addicted that you kind of want to make the changes, or you view it as your project. But at the end of the day, none of us own any of Marvel Snap. We don't even own our cards in the game. You know, if they shut down, it's gone. Like we are continuously using this product that this company is paying to make, and you know, they have a price for it. So it's hard to understand that for games, and I understand why people kind of lose sight of that. Again, it's very kind of big picture. But I think it's fair. I think it's just a fair system. Even games that are over expensive, you know, too expensive, you think Snap's too expensive, or other games that charge too much money, like that's up to them. Like I don't go to the store and buy designer clothes like Gucci. I'm not walking around in Gucci flip-flops or anything because that's too expensive for me. But that's what they charge. And some people are okay with it and they buy the Gucci flip-flops, and I don't. And, you know, that's okay. I'm not going to rant about Gucci all day. So same thing with Snap. If it's too expensive for you, or it takes too much time, if it requires too much for you, like that's okay, you know. But it's you can't really say it's unfair. If that's what they want to charge, that's what they'll charge. If it's too much or if it's not worth it, then the economy will shut down their business because they won't make money. You know, it's like it's just kind of how the world works, I guess. And so I don't think it's unfair.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, and video games have changed a lot. I mean, there's the developers will make a game now, but now they want it to last even longer. So you're going to give them that $70, which that's generally what the games are now. They're $70, but they're going to add content. And when they add that content, okay, hey, you know, it's been 6 months. We're going to give you an extra board now to do. Give us $30. Give us $20. So that's a thing. So that's happening almost everywhere you go, whether it be cosmetics. I saw this happening in World of Warcraft years ago. They started it on their Blizzard site. You go on there, you can buy mounts, you could buy armor, you could all this other stuff for your characters. And they started it a long time ago. So this is nothing new. You know, as to what they're doing. And cosmetics are cosmetics. You don't need them. That's the bottom line. You don't. And you could look at Snap as being that same way. You don't need variants. You play the game without them. However, they're going to make cool ones because they want you to get them. And when you see, like me, when I see those comic book covers the other day, I'm looking at my shop, I see an Adam Warlock.
Oh, that one's so good. The Adam Warlock and the Black Panther. The Black Panther and Adam Warlock recently, those are killer. They're so good.
That stuff, they know they hooked me because that is all the comics that I had when I was a kid. I had all those covers. And then when I see them, I'm like, now what am I going to do with an Adam Warlock comic book cover? That you can't play that card. It's unplayable. But that stuff just gets me. I see that and it brings back nostalgia for me. And I'm like, yep, you got me. But yeah, I think people need to realize that no matter what game you go to, and I know the next best thing is always going to be the big thing, right? So like I'm a big Star Wars fan too. There's a big Star Wars game coming out, I think on the 30th. In 4 days. I think it's Star Wars Outlaws. They're advertising it everywhere. It's supposed to be a single player game that you can go through and go, you know, it takes place between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. So it's supposed to be big. Now I'm a little scared because Ubisoft is not good at making games sometimes.
Right.
But they're going to release it. It's going to sell because of the IP. And I can guarantee you at some point, there's going to come a time where they're going to be like, hey, here's some new things you could buy. You could buy new weapons.
DLC time, yeah.
Yes. And it's everywhere. It's everywhere. It doesn't matter what game you're playing, what you're doing, which game you're fond of. Yes, there are games out there that are storytelling kind of games where they only go to a certain part and then that's it. It's over. You can replay it, and you may get a different ending here or there, but it's, you know, that they're out there, but they usually don't cost as much because they know that it's like
indie games. A lot of indie games, you know, single person team developer, you know, just a couple people. Because the budgets of the big games are the graphics, and you know they're so expensive to make. You need funding. You raise funding up front, so then you got to pay back investors. And so you say, okay, we're going to sell this much up front, but then we're going to do DLC because we need to keep making money to pay this back. You know, it's in the funding plan, and that's the games that are getting funding. It's the ones that have a plan. You know, it's kind of like movies, right? Same thing. You know, movies. You're like, okay, we're going to do this the opening weekend, but then we're going to keep making money the next couple weekends. Here's what we're going to try and make in merch, in like some DVD sales after. Even though Netflix kills most of our DVD sales. And then, you know, we're like, we have all these plans. And things change. Like you mentioned, games change. Same thing with movies. I think it was actually Leonardo DiCaprio was talking about recently. I think maybe it was on Hot Ones. I saw a clip of him talking about it on the Hot Ones, you know, podcast where they're eating wings. And he was talking about how Netflix and like online streaming like has absolutely decimated DVD sales. So now it's like movies need to make back their money in a really short time frame. Like their opening weekend is much more important because they used to make so much money just over time through DVD sales, but now like Netflix doesn't pay as much, so a lot of like movies just can't get like funding. You know, if it's not gonna have a big opening weekend, it's less likely to get funding. And so, you know, same thing with games, right? It changes the scope of these big games. When you see these shorter time frame games that are really quick, it's more likely to be an indie game that had a lower budget, because the bigger ones that, you know, work with a big studio, they need a plan up front to say, how are we going to make this money back? Because these graphics, well, they look cool, they are really expensive to make, right? Like there's so much money making that.
Yeah, for sure. A friend of mine worked for a company that did graphics for films. He got to work on Man of Steel. So like, you know, I get a lot of that insider stuff kind of from him. And he talked to me a little bit about the whole deep fake technology that they're using, where they take an actor who may either be passed away, or what they did with Carrie Fisher in I forget the name of the movie now, but what they did with her and what they're doing with Mark Hamill in the one episode of where he came back. And he said how expensive like one scene of that was. One scene, like one scene of a face with an expression. And then they have to do more of it because they have to move the face and they have to do this.
Yeah.
And he said it's insane. Like the amount of money when people hear like this film cost like $1 billion to make. Well, yeah, because that's what goes into all of that. Like people don't realize like what it is. And then, you know, I know that when they talked about RDJ returning as Dr.
Right.
and mentioned him coming back, and then people found out that he was getting $80 million and all this stuff was going on. Well, look, they're going to make 2 huge scope movies. That's what they're going to do. They're doing, and I'm excited about it. This is from the 2015 Secret War. I know it is. I know that's where they're going with this. He's going to be God Emperor Doom more than likely. And what that entailed in the books was phenomenal. And if they pull that off in 2 movies, it's going to be something to see along the lines of Endgame. And I'll tell you, I can remember Endgame was probably one of the best experiences I think I've ever had in the theater.
Oh yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah,
So,
no, it's going to be huge. And yeah, for special effects, I'm trying to think, what was that? Maybe it's The Flash. I didn't see the Flash movie. I think that's what it was.
The recent one with Michael Keaton. Yeah.
Yeah, the recent one where they had, I saw clips online where there was some CGI scenes that were like really bad.
Yes.
Like it was really horrible.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, if you watch most movies, because the CGI is so expensive, like even just, you know, doing one scene, you need a huge, like a team of people to get it done. You need a really expensive software that, you know, you have to pay a bunch to license and all this stuff. And so every CGI scene is so expensive. So often movies in like small, quick scenes, they won't have it fully done, you know, so it'll look kind of crappy. But then on the really important scenes, they put in all the work. It's all rendered really nicely and everything. But it's really expensive. It drives up the cost. And so I have to imagine video games are the same way. Like just because the new Xbox or PlayStation or, you know, PC graphics card, NVIDIA can run these graphics, doesn't mean the graphics are the same cost to make from, you know, a developer standpoint. So it's crazy the amount of money. Or I just saw, actually just 2 days ago, I saw Deadpool Wolverine.
Did you like it?
Yeah, it was really awesome. But like the opening scene was really cool where, you know, he's doing all the dance moves. And I'm like, man, like even that, I was watching that and it reminded me of, did you ever see the movie Wanted?
Yes.
With and remember the opening scene with the keyboard?
Yes.
And the letter, it's like flying. Okay, that reminded me of that because there's, you know, he's like swinging around the bones, whatever, and it has words on it for the names of people that helped out with the movie. So it reminded me of that, and I'm like, man, like even this scene was probably really expensive to make. Like it looks so good, it's so cool what they created.
Oh yeah,
and how smooth it was. I'm like, man, the budget is absolutely nuts. Like it's crazy because I imagined. Now that I make content, you know, I'm nowhere near that level, obviously, but you know, now I do like, you know, kind of creative stuff. I make thumbnails, I do editing stuff. And sometimes it takes me a good amount of time, even if I'm just doing some small editing or adding some graphic or like that moves a bit or something in the video. It takes so much time. So I was watching this video and now I'm kind of looking at things through more like creative scope of, man, imagine if I was like on this team, like how I would do this, like what, you know, how to get the words moving over, like all that work it would take to line things up. And, you know, I wonder what kind of program they use, all that stuff. And I just think like this opening scene probably took so long to make.
Oh yeah.
It probably took like an absurd amount of time just to create. It's crazy to think about the amount of time and money that is needed to develop something, even if it's, you know, a small game that you said, you know, you could finish in an hour or two. It's probably took so much time to make, and you can just play it in an hour. It's nuts. It's funny to think.
No, I'm no doubt, and that's, you know, and the developers for Snap, they're always answering people's questions and stuff like that, which is cool. I mean, you don't get that everywhere either. So yeah, I don't know. All in all, I guess I think a lot of people just, I don't know. Everybody is their own person, and everybody's going to have their own opinion. But I think sometimes people just expect maybe too much sometimes. And not realize
it's easy to get there where you
is. You create ownership for something, you know, you play it, you're like, yeah, I give a lot of my time to this and I should have some sort of ownership over this. But yet, in like you were saying, the big picture, you really don't. You don't own this. You're playing it, you're enjoying it, it's making, you know, you're having fun with it. But yeah. So, but yeah, it's just we kind of went off the side there a little bit, but I like the discussion because I think more people I think just have to think a little bit beyond just things that they're seeing on the screen and getting upset with things that they're not maybe necessarily seeing and stuff like that. So now to upset more people, I want to ask you about a card that's been so got to talk to you about Loki, man, because look, this card, and I don't know, the last when I saw this get changed, and I feel like an idiot because on my podcast that week, and it was funny because it was literally the first time I've ever used an audio sound effect on my audio podcast. I don't normally do that because you can get in trouble with it. I know if you gotta be careful. So I used the puny god sound effect when Loki's done, like, oh, Loki's dead, blah 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 blah. Yeah, well, that lasted all of 2 days until people realized that
we all thought he was dead. We thought it was a huge hit, and now
he's better than he was. I think it's crazy. So if you were a dev in this game, and I mean, look, the RSM decks are still. I'm playing with I just got to 93 with RSM, and RSM is still very damn good. I mean, yes, I had mentioned that, and I think I heard Zombies Go Nom Nom mention it too. Make it 6 cards instead of just what they put in 3. I think they added 3. So to make it double, make it
now
6.
It adds in 15.
Yeah, make it 6 cards instead of just the 3, and make it a little harder to get that Loki or get that. But what would you do if you were a dev? What at this point? Because to me, I'm over it. I'm at the point where I'm thinking, all right, Loki just needs to be reworked. I think he just needs to be reworked. But what would you do with the Loki card? Because even I was just watching KM Best's podcast that he does with Brandon a little bit ago, and they were both talking about it. They said that he's hearing a lot of people saying, I'm over this meta. I can't stand the Loki stuff anymore. I'm sick of the Loki stuff in every deck, and the Loki RSM and Loki this and Loki that. So if you were given the reins, what would you do with Loki?
Yeah, it's a tough question. I like that they tried to change him because the old Loki was a problem, especially in Arishem. And now you do have a smaller chance of drawing him in Arishem. But I think, they actually have more room now to change him. Before he was just I guess he was a 4 or 5, right? But he was replacing your hand.
Yep.
But now they've given him multiple things because now he replaced the starting deck with the opponents. He gives it -1 cost. So it's 2 things. And then he draws a card right away. That's 3 things. So they could obviously mess with the stats, but they could start right away. Just remove the card draw to start. That means he triggers, but he doesn't draw anything right away. So then you only actually see one of your opponent's cards every turn. He probably shouldn't have so much power. He probably shouldn't be a positive stat line where he's got more, power than his cost. And so I don't actually think at a core he's unhealthy. Same thing with Arishem. And Arishem feels like a healthier Loki still. Where it is actually fun. Like, they're fun cards. Like, if they were not so powerful, like when they first came out, people were loving these cards. They were super fun.
Yeah.
And so I think you just have to make it so they don't cheat so much, right? All the energy cheating is where you just draw the nuts and you've got so much energy more than your opponent. There's no way you're losing, right? I mean, if you have Loki, if you have the same cards as your opponent, but yours cost less, there's no way you're losing.
Yep.
And so, and with Arishem, sometimes you just ramp up too quickly. And, they just need to change that. They need to change the best case scenario, or at least how often it can reach the best. But I think you can take off the draw, make Loki a 3/3 or 3/4, and already there, it's a bit difficult to, or you just make him a 4 cost again. Make him a 4 cost and remove the draw. And then now it's already a bit more of an ask to play Loki and be like, okay, I'm going to play Loki. Turn 5 and turn 6, I'm drawing something my opponent has, but mine's better because it's cheaper. But that's only 2 cards, doesn't synergize. So you just give less time to cheat. I think you take off the draw. I think they're going to start with that, by the way. I do think that's my prediction, is that they remove the draw. Because they like to add in different levers. And so they added in that ability. They'll just take that off. Yeah. But then after that, I don't know, make him a 4. He's a fun card. Honestly,
Mhm.
He's fun. You just need to not make him so powerful.
Powerful.
And so, but what you could do, and people have talked about this with Arishem, give him the Thanos treatment where he starts in your hand. And so the whole thing with Arishem is his draws are supposed to be so bad and so inconsistent that you rarely see in the cards you put in your deck. Well, if he starts in your hand, not only is that more the case now because it's, one less, it will say good card, but now you have the 7-cost card in your hand. So even if you get lucky and, he gives you a bunch of good cards, you're not playing Arishem.
Yep.
So it's guaranteed at least like one bad card, I guess, that you draw.
That's a good point.
And Loki, they could do something similar. Maybe they remove the draw and they say Loki starts in your hand at 3 or 4. So your first couple of turns are going to be tough.
Yep.
You just make more of a downside. But I don't think you rework Loki. I think you keep his ability with, replacing your cards or your deck with your opponent's stuff. You just need to not make it cheat so much.
Yeah, I agree. The energy stuff is I think the biggest. That's the biggest factor because you're just like you said, you're just getting cards out faster than your opponent. It's that simple.
Yeah.
And so, I like that. I mean, like you said, they do seem to be putting, I think they call them like dials that they can tune. So they referred to Red Hulk with that when they did his, and they can blob, they can go up, they could go down on these little dials, these little numbers. So that's a good point. I don't know when the next OTA is. It's probably,
I believe Thursday.
Is it 2 days from now or is it the following week? I can't remember.
I'll check right now. I have a screenshot saved.
Yeah.
But I believe I only have older stuff saved actually. I was thinking this thing, but maybe not. Maybe this is a break. So I'm not sure either.
29th. Yeah, I don't remember. I can't remember if it's the end of this month or if it's next month, the beginning of next month. It could be the 5th. So, I mean, we could see something with it as soon as then. I don't ever look at numbers. So I don't know what the numbers are of his play rate and stuff like that. I just listen to what other people are talking about and what I see. But yeah, is there anything else out there that you're seeing right now, like cards or decks or anything like that in particular? I know Sandman was a big one for a while with the Ultron thing happening. That seems to have maybe tailed a little bit since they just, they nerfed Sandman a point. But anytime they do that, that's automatically going to stop people from playing a little bit. But what are some of the things you're seeing that you're thinking that are maybe just a little tiresome, a little maybe oppressive even? What are some of the things you've seen out there?
Yeah, so what I've seen is, and I actually, the other day, I was just trying to mess around with decks. I'm like, I haven't played High Evo in a while. Let me try out some High Evo stuff. Let me try out some like lockdown stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm like Magic turn 7 to where I could, maybe clog my opponent, but go into turn 7 or do High Evo into turn 7 and, get all the value for Cyclops. And let me see where that's at right now. I could not get a win for the life of me. Like I was trying out so many different things. It didn't matter. Like I was just getting outpowered consistently because I would have Athena gain really strong. They'd have a Sage coming down really strong. Cassandra Nova, like these cheap cards, and there's like the mini movers deck package. There's like just the Athena Ravana. These really cheap cards just generate so much power. Even if I like Storm right now is so bad. Storm
for sure.
Horrible. I mean, if you get matchup against Arishem, it's like you're not winning that Storm lane because you're out tempoed, right? And so I like playing a lot of tempo decks, which is bad matchup for Arishem. So I'm like, okay, well that's a bad matchup. What about non-Arishem decks? Well, they put something in there. They even, just get the Collector, and then, they play Kate Bishop, they play AG Coulson. Well, now the Collector's powering up in there, right? Or now Athena's powering up in the Earth side. And so it's like, there's so many cheap cards that power up or come down really big if it's, turn 6, like Sage. So it's really tough to just kind of have a deck where you feel like you're playing fair, I guess, or, you just gain decent power about tempo. And a lot of these cards, I notice, if you look at the top decks, like competitive decks, you're seeing still a lot of Nocturne or Copycat. You're seeing Athena. Maybe you see the Ajax Hazmat combo. There's so many new cards. Like they're very, very new Series 5 cards. You see a lot of Mockingbird, obviously, still. Kate Bishop is everywhere. She's super
Yeah, oh
strong.
yeah, she is.
And
Yeah,
so, like, if you're someone who has been taking it easier this year, or you've been trying to save your keys and stuff, like these new cards coming out, when you look at the decks around, like the top competitive decks, there's so much of them is, new Series 5 cards. They've actually become really expensive. It's crazy to think. I mean, back in the day, remember when Shuri was super strong?
yeah,
Like
yep.
that deck was pretty cheap,
Yes,
or High
it
Evo.
was.
High Evo is a super cheap deck because it's
Yeah,
mostly basic stuff and then High Evolutionary himself. But it just doesn't get anywhere right now. It's all these, cheap cards, and for the most part, they're pretty new. So that's my only complaint is that when Sabu got nerfed, 4 costs went from being super good while 3 costs were the worst performing costs to now 4 costs. You just feel like you're getting outpowered by these 3 costs that have like tech and power. Um, and 2 costs again are just really strong. And that happened before. They were like, okay, 2 costs are too good. Let's nerf Angela. Let's nerf Elsa or make her a 3. Let's, nerf Zabu. And then now we're at the spot again, I think, where these 2 and 3 cost cards are too strong again. Like they're
yeah.
just carrying, they're just doing so much. It's crazy. So that's my only thing. And that's why Sandman was good, because there's all these cheap cards, that you're playing multiple of every turn. And so I think you could, slow it down a bit. I don't like all the power, the nuts numbers that are coming out as early as turn 2.
Yep.
I think you got to slow it down a bit. I kind of like that. It just feels a bit more fair, I guess, when, someone's playing their big win condition is like a 5 cost card. Like, yeah, they spent 5 for it. You know what I mean? Like it.
Yeah.
So that's my only thing, because cheap cards are so flexible, and you put so many of them in one deck, and you always have something. You always have something good on turn 2, basically.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'd say it's pretty diverse.
Yeah, it's a good observation. I mean, when you've got zoo decks that are pumping out like 30 power a lane, it's
exactly.
crazy.
They're going. That's a good point, actually. I should mention. So it used to be, and this is what I was thinking when I was playing High Evo, and I could not get a win for the life of me trying to play High Evo or Lockdown, because it used to be some decks went really tall, right? You're playing a Shuri deck. You're doing Shuri, you're doubling up the Red Skull, so you got one lane really big, and then you copy with Taskmaster. You just go really tall.
Yep.
High Evo would go really tall. And then some decks went really wide. If you're playing, a Patriot with old Ultron and stuff, you're like, okay, we don't have as much power, but we're getting a good power spread, so we're fighting for all the lanes.
Yep.
But now it's like these zoo decks, they're going tall and they're going wide.
Yeah, they are.
Because the Ultron Patriot is really strong. Of course, you have Blue Marvel. They slap Mockingbird in a lane who's still like a 0/10. So that's probably a problem too. Mockingbird, I think, is still too strong. I think if you tone down Mockingbird and maybe the Acid Arrow and, maybe one of the little mini movers, maybe Thena or something, I think you're looking at a much better situation. It's just, it's so hard to homebrew a deck right now. It feels very hard to homebrew. Yeah. You're either playing these little power stuff or you're playing this clogged junk package or something. Yep. Like it feels hard to just make any cards work. It seems like you got to have at least one of these, big powerhouses in there.
I thought of the other day, I'm like, I haven't played Thanos in a while. So I'm just going to try Thanos because of the change to the Mind Stone. And I'm just going to put all these big power cards in there. So I'm going to put Scar and Cole and all that stuff. I got wiped out by a zoo deck. My first wiped out. I'm like, but you're right. Like when you can play a zoo deck that has, let's say, a Blue Marvel, and then last turn you can put down a 0-cost Mockingbird and an Arasham, or I'm sorry, oh my God, what's his name?
Sasquatch. What do you think of?
No,
or Gilgamesh.
The Gilgamesh. When you can stick a Gilgamesh down, that's going to probably end up with like 25 power on his own, and put down a Mockingbird, that's a huge last turn play. And
it is.
Like, there's really no one that's going to beat you, and the only way you could really stop these decks is with a Killmonger, and many of them are playing Kyera, so that's going to stop them from doing anything. But yeah, it's insane. It's so funny because about 2 months ago, I had said that I don't understand why people talk about Zoo. Zoo is ridiculous. No one's ever come up with, well, boy,
where are you talking about that?
I had to eat my words. I'm like, the next week, I'm like, what am I? Look at what happened. But it's like, yeah, like you're right. It's crazy, and I could
Yep.
see where I think you're right too in the fact that yeah, it's if you're not net decking and you're just trying to come up with things,
It's tough.
it is. I remember just last month, I got to where I am now on ladder. I got in the 90s with a Galactus ramp deck. That was it.
Okay.
That's all. I played a Galactus ramp deck. There was nothing
That's
special
impressive.
to it. It was what I was playing before. I had Eliath in the deck. I had, it was all that kind of stuff. Nothing special at all. Daredevil was in there, all that kind of stuff. I tried that this month. I don't think I won one game with it. I brought it out.
Yeah.
I'm like, I lost my first 7 or 8 games. I'm like, yep, nope, that ain't working. I was like, so, but yeah, you're right. I seriously think and maybe, maybe that's where KM Best is hearing what he heard in the fact that everybody seems like they're confined to feeling like they have to play these certain decks or they're not going to win. Like you tried High Evo. I messed around with a High Evo deck too. I even put Ajax in there thinking, oh, okay, well I'll put him in there thinking it is. Nope, I got wiped out. And so yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and I used to build decks all the time. Like I don't really play top meta stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always play custom stuff. And even if it's not, super good, I'd play a lot of tempo or lockdown. I do like Storm Legion shenanigans. Just Legion's my favorite card. So I do all kinds of things. And, I wouldn't have crazy win rates if, the meta wasn't great for it and stuff. But I could always find wins. Like I just knew the decks really well. Like it would be okay. I could climb with it. But I'm telling you, I was testing out. And I don't really grind that much in Snap anymore, as I mentioned. I'm mainly just playing missions. So it's the first time in a while I've really like just played for like hours, just like for fun, not for stream or anything. I could just not find anything that works. Even High Evo, I'm like, okay, I'll do Ajax Hazmat in here. Yep. And I'm like, well, it's pretty much Ajax Hazmat carrying the deck. Time to take out High Evo. And, that's just like, yeah, I did. That's a good point. I felt really confined. And eventually I'm like, I'm trying to do this here. I'm just going to get some wins. I'm just going to go to this, like this Cersei clog list I have, or I'm going to go to this clog list that has dagger move. Like, I feel like right now, not that you can't do it. Like there are people, making decks and stuff, but it's really, really tough because it used to be you didn't need a deck that went big. It didn't need to have huge power. You could have a lot of tech, or that's why I do lockdown, right? Lock your opponents out. Whatever you're doing now, it needs to go big still, like that's why Cersei can add a lot of power, the dagger in there, or Ajax Hazmat stuff. Like whatever you're doing, you're going to run into Loki's spinning out stuff. You're going to run into Arishem ramping up stuff. Like you can have tech, but you need something that puts out huge numbers, and it does feel limited. I was like, man, I got to change how I build decks. Like I have to completely switch how I look at it now. I don't think I can build decks like I used to. I think I need to change my mindset of what works in Marvel Snap, because what I used to make work just doesn't work anymore.
Yeah. It came to a head for me the other day because I was playing a Conquest match, Gold Conquest, and I was going through it, and I ended up playing in the 3rd round against a Zoo deck. So I'm like, okay. It's gonna be a Zoo. The person beat me. I think I won one match, and they were playing Agatha. They didn't even play. It was literally an Agatha Zoo deck, and I'm like, I see the Agatha come out. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? And the deck is doing extremely well. Like he won like every game but one, and I'm like, holy! I mean, see that right there tells me, I'm like, all right, if Agatha's piloting decks that are actually good, then that's probably not a very good sign.
That is crazy.
Yeah, it really was. But yeah, it's something else, man. Well, you know what? Let's get to some of these other upcoming things here. I want to talk to you about some of these cards. So let's go to. I'll start with. Let's go to next month because I heard you talking about these, and I know you're excited about next month. So let's get to the Symbiote season. So Symbiote Spider-Man is the season pass card. He's a 4/6. And it's got the activate mechanic. Now, we don't know exactly what this is, but I'm assuming you're going to have to touch the card at some point, similar to how Kitty was before she broke the entire game. When you had to press on her card, I think, before that, then we all got the card for free. So merge your lowest cost card here with this. Copy its text like it just revealed. So what are you thinking of the season pass card? And obviously, are you excited for the activate mechanic?
Yeah, so it's exciting. And a good example I thought of is Howard. It works like Howard the
It
Duck.
does. Yeah.
So like Howard, if you play on turn 1, you can't use his ability on turn 1.
Yeah.
Right? You don't get to click see the top of your deck. But once the play phase goes through and he reveals, starting on turn 2, you can click on Howard and you see the top card of your deck.
Yep.
So with an activate, same thing. You don't get to see it. You don't get to use it the turn you play it. But once it's revealed, you can click on it to make it happen. But it only works once. It's not like Howard where you can check every turn. So it's interesting. The thing that's funny here, it says copy its text like it just revealed. So I believe if he copies an on reveal, I believe the on reveal will happen again, but there's some confusion about that. That's not clear. Some people think it might not. But like Hulkbuster doesn't mention the on reveal at all.
Right.
Hulkbuster just says like merge. So the fact that it specifies that makes me think it does copy, or it does trigger the on reveal again. So kind of like an absorbing man, but maybe better. But different order, because you have to play Spider-Man first, and then maybe on turn 5 or 6 you can use his activate ability. And the phasing, now move happens before the cards reveal and stuff. So I think likely, but we don't have clarification, is that maybe move happens and then activate and then cards reveal. So that means if you played Spider-Man on turn 4, Symbiote Spider-Man, and turn 5 you went to activate him, he couldn't merge with a card you're playing on turn 5, because I think the activate would happen before cards flip over. So it'd have to be, merging with a card you had previously played, or you have to do it on turn 6 if you want to merge him with like a Black Panther, some 5 cost.
Yeah.
So there's still some clarification that we need to know in terms of how the activate works and the actual sequencing. But it's exciting. It's cool to have a new ability, like you mentioned. My guess is, and looking at these cards, and we're going to talk about them, this might be one of the strongest months we've seen in a long time.
I think so. Yeah.
And I think, given that it's a theme people really love, right? People love the Spider-Man, universe and all that.
Yeah.
I think it's very possible that this is just a broken season. Kind of like, you remember was it like September, October, November of 2023 were all like broken. We had Alith coming out. We had Miss Marvel. We had Elsa. We had Loki. We had
Werewolf by Night
Werewolf by Night. Exactly. There's so many cards. Like, it was just like 3 months of just like broken cards left and right.
Yeah.
We could easily see that here. I think, one, because I think they want them to be really good, because they want this season to be exciting. And they need to. You don't want to, sell out these cards that people love and they're like really boring or bad cards. You really can't have that. You need these cards to be good.
Yep.
And it's hard to measure good before it goes live. So oftentimes when they aim for something to be good, they miss the mark, and it's OP like Loki was, because they want Loki to be good, because that's exciting. And then 2, activate is just a new mechanic. Whenever you have something new in Snap, it's usually broken because it has synergies that you didn't think of, or Second Dinner didn't think of, because it's new, right? Like old Blob, they're like, oh, it's just gonna eat the deck. The average deck doesn't have that much power. It's like, oh, but in Thanos, that's a problem. Oh, or Loki, it's like, oh, Loki's did just copy random cards. Oh, but your opponent's playing good cards. They're trying to beat you with good. And so, or same thing with Arishem, right? Like, oh, you actually don't need to see the cards you put in your deck. You get good stuff randomly, or you put them with Loki. And so when you have something completely new, I think it usually just ends up broken, because there's unforeseen synergies and consequences. With great power comes great responsibility.
Where's the Uncle Ben card?
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
man.
Yeah, this could be crazy. So I want to ask you, because there's so many ways to go with this, of what you would want to merge him with. What do you think, off the top of your head, would be one of the best things to merge Symbiote Spider-Man with?
I mean, an on reveal. So I mean, off the top of my head, I'm thinking Doom would be awesome because you're getting the 2 bots.
I don't think you, but if he triggers,
Oh, that's right. Would he trigger before you can? Yeah, I guess he
Doom
would.
reveals.
Yeah, I guess he would.
My thoughts were, I had a couple, and so some. Oh, so one I thought super good. I think this one is going to be killer. Okay, but a couple I thought of. I'll get to that one. So without the on reveals, let's not worry about the on reveal. I think even just because he's hitting a lower cost card, you could look to hit the double ups. You know, maybe he can help out in a deck with Deadpool or Human Torch.
Okay.
He could be really good with Dawkin. You know, Dawkin doubles up power. So instead of looking to merge with a Black Panther, you could just do Dawkin. If that triggers again too, that means you get another Muramasa shard. So that could go absolutely crazy with Dawkin doubling up, or you know, even better a bill or something. If you just have good stuff like Jeff, it's just gonna feel good having you know a 9-powered card to move around. But something I thought of killer, and again, there's probably some honor reels that I'm not even thinking of that are you know super amazing. Even Cassandra Nova or you know any honor reel is going to be good if it triggers again. Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
Oh boy.
I think because you play her, or let's say you play her early on turn 3, your opponent is going to try and throw a dummy card there, so it dies to her, right? You kind of have to waste a card if you have a deck, you know, with multiple things.
Yep.
But then if you play Spider-Man later and you merge with her on turn 5, well, now Negasonic is reactivated. Whether he works with on reveals or not, Negasonic isn't on reveal. She just says the next card, and he reads copy the text like it just revealed. So I'm thinking he resets Negasonic. I don't know if he does, but that would make her really good because then you could choose: do you activate him to reset Negasonic on turn 5, or do you reset Negasonic on turn 6? If your opponent's expecting you to do it on turn 5, they maybe throw their dummy card there, but you haven't activated yet. You know, maybe you activate turn 6. So I think there's just going to be some really cheeky things. That's the only one I found so far was the Negasonic is really tricky. But there's going to be some other ones that are just like, you're going to see it, you're like, oh, come on. Like, don't tell me, you know, if he resets or reactivates on reveals, there's going to be something broken. What it is exactly, I don't know, but people will find something.
Yeah, they will. Snap players are smart, man. Yeah, look, this is, yeah, you're right. And I think this is what's the most fun about this is that everybody is going to have to learn this, and everybody's going to have to be aware of this. Because if you're not ready for this when you're playing, and sure, people will figure things out. Like you said, it's going to happen probably within the first 3-4 days of this card being played. People are going to try it with different things. Like you came up with Negasonic, they're going to try it with different stuff. And someone is going to find something that is going to break these cards. And when we do, then all of a sudden everybody's, but that's what, yeah, like that's what's cool about it is that a lot of people sometimes go into seasons, right? We all, I mean, you do a great job talking about all the cards. People are going to go into seasons though, thinking, okay, this card doesn't look great. I'm going to probably not get it. This one doesn't look awesome. But with this, especially with the activate cards, they don't know necessarily how they're going to work because they could be amazing. Maybe they're not, but yeah, I mean, it's almost like you have to take the chance and get them because someone is, like you said, probably going to figure these out, and you're going to want this card. It's that simple. So, you know what I find funny about this? I told somebody this. Symbiote Spider-Man's already in the game. There's a variant of this.
I have it. That's the best one.
The McFarlane Spider-Man variant. So
I know it's controversial. It's a bit awkward, but people love the Spider-Man. They don't mind breaking the rules for this.
Yeah, it does. I was saying, I'm like, now are they going to turn that into? I'm like, they can't because then they'd be giving you people who have that variant would get the card for free essentially.
Right. Yeah. No, they'll just keep it as is. You know.
Yeah. All right. So we're moving on. We got this card. Now this is out first week as well. So this is Silver Sable. Silver Sable's a 1/1. On reveal, steal 2 power from the top card of your opponent's deck. I think I heard you talking about, were you speaking about bounce with this?
A little bit. I think I was actually a bit harsh on Sable, which is actually what I like doing because I do a full season preview. Like I did, you know, one video where I talked about all the cards, and then I'll do it individually, like the week before each card comes out. But I really like doing that because I read every comment on all my videos. And usually I encourage people to comment or let me
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
what good synergies they find. So it's kind of nice when I do like my first kind of impressions,
Mhm.
like my current thoughts, and then I hear people's thoughts, and that helps me, you know, make up my mind more as I go to make my individual card video.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I think I was pretty harsh on Sable. I said she'd be bad. I think I was maybe looking at her incorrectly. I was thinking she's kind of a pretty general one cost card that you would just play. In this case, she's a 1/3. When you play her, if your opponent plays the card that you hit with -2 power, then she's essentially a 1/5.
Yep.
And so I'm like, this kind of feels like a worse Hydra Bob, like in a flexible spot.
Okay.
And a lot of people in the comments, we're very excited for her. And they're excited for her in Bounce, excited for her in like a toxic deck, alongside
Yes.
Ajax or something. And so I'm not sold on the Ajax stuff with her because you really just need Hazmat for Ajax. But I think for Bounce, I think I look at her more now as less of a flexible 1/5 and more of a niche one cost, like little powerhouse for Bounce. If you're playing a Bounce list with Hawkeye, I think you can just replace Hawkeye with Silver Sable. Um, So, you could run her generally still, but I don't think she's going to make the cut in a lot of decks. I think bouncing her is the key. If you play her twice, she herself is a 1/5,
Yep.
and your opponent has 2 cards, that got -2 power, unless the second time you played her was on the last turn of the game. And so, that's a 1/5, but it's up to a 1/9 after just playing her twice if your opponent, played the cards you still power from. So she realized those gains. So that's actually pretty good. And now obviously it's annoying for your opponent. It's just
It
pissing them
is.
off. So I think she's okay, maybe good in the right meta, but there's still a good amount of Sandman out. So I don't think
Yeah.
Bounce is in the best spot, but she's on reveal. She does trigger Werewolf by Night. You just got to watch out for the Shadow King, watch out for the Killmonger, watch out for the Sandman, because a lot of Bounce cards, they're not really powering up themselves. If you're playing like Korg or Spider Ham, you're like doing something to mess with your opponent
Yeah.
or Nico stuff. And so it doesn't matter if those cards get killed by Killmonger that much. If your Spider Hand dies here, he did his job.
Yep.
But if, your Hawkeye or Silver Sable die, well, most of their power was on them. And so she avoids that a bit by giving your opponent's cards mass power. So I think in Bounce, she might actually be a good fit. She might she might just become a staple in Bounce. But I don't know about outside of Bounce. I'm not sold on the toxic stuff. What are your thoughts on Silver Sable?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. The bounce thing seems like it would be good, especially if it like that would be a bounce deck where you'd maybe want to also run Cassandra. If you run Cassandra in that same list, now you're
Yeah.
taking a whole bunch of power off of a lot of their cards.
Yeah.
So, and then you might think about even running at, like you were saying, even running an Ajax in that deck to finish off the game with. So, yeah, I would agree with you. I think that the bounce thing is what I'm not a big bounce player at all. Not at
Yeah,
all.
me
I
neither.
don't play bounce much, but I could see it working there probably best over the long haul, and you could end up getting a bounce like toxic deck, which I could see
That'd be
that.
cool.
Yeah, something different, but I could see it happen. All right, let's go to, well, this one. This to me just seems ridiculously broken. I mean, Move players are going to be rejoicing here. I used to watch Molt back in the day play Move because that's all he played. I used to watch him all the time. You might see him like return to the game with this one, because this, if you combine this with a Hercules, and I think you said this, you could be bouncing Human Torches and stuff all back and forth.
It's going to be like pinball. It's going to be like pinball.
Like multiple men everywhere. The Vulture's getting humongous. Like, holy cow. This just, I mean, I know they reduced her power. They made her 2/1. I think she was something else. Wasn't she a 2/2 or
she was a 2/3.
2/3.
And I know I talked to Glazer about this.
Yeah.
And Glazer was like, listen, like you don't, and this is when she was a 2/3. He's like, you don't have to put her in Move. You can just put her in whatever. And she's kind of like running a Jeff where, you have this 2/3.
Yep.
But instead of moving herself, you can move a bigger card over. So it's kind of more better than Jeff. And so I agreed that was going to be broken and it was going to be too flexible. Like I was ready to play her outside of Move. And now as a 2/1, I think because it's such a low power level, I mean, there's not very many 2/1s in the game. You really need to guarantee that you can get value from the move, right? It's not like Jeff, where if you don't have a location that's hard to get in or the move doesn't matter, that's fine. You still played a
Right.
2/3. Now, if you don't get value from the move, it's a 2/1. So you really need something. But the something doesn't have to be that much. You could just play Madam Web and a Dazzler, or just
Yeah.
play one
Yeah.
thing. You don't have to play a ton on her. Dazzler could easily get nerfed with this, by the way, because that could be crazy. But
Yep.
she is now a really easy target for Red Guardian. Like that 2/1 sitting there.
That's Red Guardian might
But
make a big comeback. Yeah.
yeah, but move does happen first. So if you played her and you already had something to move on the board, because it's nice that she's ongoing, and so you can choose when it happens. If you played like Human Torch turn 1, turn 2 you play Madam Web on Human Torch's lane.
Yep.
At the start of turn 3 you move Human Torch. So even if your opponent was going to hit Madam Web with Red Guardian, you already got at least one move out of the Human Torch. So I think it's going to be really good. I think she's pretty confined to move now with the 1 power, but again, she's going to have these wombo combos. With Craven, if you just have Craven sitting in the Hercules lane or a lane to the left, like it's possible now your turn 6 is bigger. And we're going to talk about another card next, but it seems like there's 2 things that are really hard with move, and it's a hard deck to play, but there's 2 things that really complicate it and kind of, have kept it from being really strong. One is board space. I mean, you always get screwed on board space with move all the time. And now there's so many clog cards. It's really annoying. But 2 is sequencing. You have to sequence the cards, right? With like Iron Fist, it's you playing before. Ghost Spider, you play after. Doctor Strange is a bit easier. He's just pulling the highest power. But sequencing and timing is so hard. Madam Web is just an ongoing. So you can sit her down just on turn 2. It doesn't matter when you're playing the other cards. It's like you get to choose, right? You put something on her. You put the Vulture on turn 3. You get to choose when you move that Vulture. And we're going to talk about another card next that also, because it's an activate, is you choose when it happens. And so I think that's really powerful. I think that's our best thing, is that it doesn't need to happen in sequence, right? The order doesn't matter.
Yep.
And when order doesn't matter in Snap, combos become a lot easier. Like order screws up so much. So I'm excited.
Yeah. I've never been a good move player, but I've been practicing
same.
in my alliance mission, so we'll see. Maybe I'll start playing more move with this, because it does seem like
That's true.
It's going to be crazy. So
Good potential, yeah.
Aranya is next, and she is a 1/1. Activate. Give the next card you play +2 power and move it to the right. So, what are your thoughts on Aranya?
This is absolutely absurd to me. I talked about this
in your video.
Because so I want to say, and this is the activate that I was talking about, where she can sleep there and be ready for when you need her. She was a 2/2 beforehand.
Yeah.
And I thought with activate she'd be good. As a 1/1, like I don't know how this isn't broken.
Yeah.
And I'm fairly confident it's broken for multiple reasons, and the most obvious is Forge, because she just gives the next card you play +2 power. Well, Forge gives the next card you play +2 power.
+2 power, yeah.
She does Forge, but for cheaper. And Forge, remember, he was like a 2 cost. He gave +3 power. They're like, oh, that's too strong. We'll make him a 1 cost that gives +2. And he was good in bound stacks. He was good with like Brood. You do like Forge into Brood Absorbing Man. Well, this is a 1/1 that has +2. Like, that was too good with Forge, and they nerfed him, and now they're re-releasing it. You know what I mean? It's like they're releasing this card that has the ability of a previously OP card. And so, or you do it with Old Kitty Pride, or destroy stuff too. And so it does have the activate, which means you need to wait a turn.
Right.
But if you think of a 1 cost Forge, you play Forge on 1. You're not using him that turn, right? You're doing Forge on 1 into Power Up on 2, or you play Forge on 2 now into Brood on 3. And so now you don't need to play Forge. You could just play Aranya on 2 into Brood on 3 if you want, right? I mean, she can just, or you play both And that's where it gets crazy because she's activate. So turn 1, you play Rania, but you don't activate her yet. That means turn 2, you can play whatever. Turn 3, you can play your Brood, which means you can play it normal on 2. So you can do a Rania into Forge. Turn 3, activate a Rania, and now your Brood's coming down 6 powers each. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
the
that's
whole
true.
activate thing.
Yeah.
Again, with the activate, the biggest thing is that they're like in on reveal, but you choose the turn that the
Yep.
reveal happens. And so imagine you have Aranya here. Imagine you have Madam Web here. You know, you can kind of sit these pieces out, and you know, if you need the ability on turn 6, you use it on turn 6. But
Yeah.
you didn't have to play Aranya that turn or on turn 5. Like you can play on curve. You don't have to mess up your curve to get the combo. The timing is so good. I mean, I think with Symbiote Spider-Man, I'm like, people are gonna think of something that's broken.
Mhm.
This one is already just broken. Like it's just better than Forge, and it moves it. So if you played Human Torch, who's a 1/2 already, it powers up Human Torch to 1/4, and then it moves it once, so it's a 1/8.
1/8.
So you can have
Yep.
a turn 2 1/8 Human Torch. But if you played turn 2 Human Torch plus Ghost Spider, well, now you have a turn 2 16 powered Human Torch, and then you can just bounce it back to hand, so it's
Oh my
safe in your
gosh.
hand until turn 6. Like, and then don't even get me started if you have Madam Web and Hercules on the board with, you
Oh
know what I
my,
mean?
yeah, then you're going up to
So
32, and yeah, that's
yeah, it's crazy. So I mean, this could be good in move decks because it does move it to the right. I don't think you need it in move though. I think you're gonna anywhere you can put Forge, you can put this card in more. You're gonna put it in Destroy. You're gonna put it in Surfer. You can put whatever you want. As long as it doesn't get killed on the board or get hit with a Red Guardian, you can activate it when you choose and you know save it for that Mysterio or the Brood
yeah,
or the Dawkin or Black Panther. Like it's the timing on this that it's this sleeper and you just wait to use it. Like even if Forge as a 2 cost, you could just say, hey, we're playing Forge, but you don't have to use this ability on turn 3. Like you can save the 2 power for later. Like that's a huge upgrade. Like that's
yeah,
better. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I don't know. This is crazy to me. Do you have any other crazy combos that you think this is
I'm
gonna
just
go
trying
nuts
to
with?
go through my head and think of anything, but yeah, I like your points on that. Even I remember when I watched your video yesterday. It's like you're right. This doesn't necessarily have to go in a move deck. In fact, this card can be a number 1. I think, like you had said, this can be a 1 card you can use in almost any single deck you play. I mean,
Yeah.
there's uses for this everywhere, and
And it
yeah,
only
I think
costs 1. And you
yeah,
just play it on turn 1 and you can use it whenever. I'm like, come on, man. This gets nerfed. This is
I'm just yeah.
my nerf hammer
Yeah, I
prediction.
think you might be right. They might take her down to 1 power instead of the
Yeah.
2. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you might be right. This one's going to be busted. You're right. No, I like the comparison because right away when you thought of Forge and how they nerfed Forge because they said he was too powerful, well, it's going to be the same thing. But yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, it's going to be a crazy card. Yeah, I think this definitely. Now that you said it, this is definitely going in Surfer. I have no doubt.
Oh
This is going
yeah.
in Surfer deck.
And it doesn't have anything to compete with. There's no like 1 cost you
Mhm.
absolutely need in Surfer. And
Nope.
again, you can still play Forge too on
Yeah,
curve.
you can get it. You probably can get rid of the Nova. I know people sometimes still play Nova, but you
Yeah,
could
yeah.
probably ditch that for this, and then have this come out, Forge come out, and then yeah, like the ridiculous broods that you're gonna have in the lane. Oh my god, that's insane.
Yeah.
That's crazy,
Yeah,
dude.
I couldn't believe when I saw they made it cheaper. I'm like, wait, why'd they make it a 1/1? So I don't know. This one, I'm gonna get it, don't get me wrong. But when I
Oh
make my individual video, I'm gonna tell people like, hey, yeah, I could be wrong, but I expect this to be so good it gets nerfed. Like, just
yeah,
expect a nerf, you know.
yeah,
Don't be mad if it gets nerfed.
right. Yeah, no, this one's gonna be crazy. I agree. All right. Scar, I love this character so much. I
Yeah.
read so many of these 90s books for that Clone Saga that I love the fact that we're getting Hoodie Spider-Man. I think that's fantastic. Man, it's if you guys don't know the lore behind this, It's a long, drawn-out series that goes back to like the Jackal, who was a villain of Spider-Man from like the early Spider-Man books. And there was an instance in that where he ended up getting blood from Peter Parker, and then he cloned him essentially, and he raised this clone, and this is what became Ben Reilly all these years later. So it's insane. When I first read those books, I'm looking for, because I had like the old books with the Jackal in them, so I'm going back and like, did they really take the time to actually go back and look at? And they did. I'm like, nah, they're just making this up. This didn't happen in the books. You go back and there's literally a book panel where you see him with his, because he had points on his gloves. He had like claws on the Jackal on his gloves. So he goes and he literally like, he pricks the one part of Peter, and he gets this blood sample, and I'm like, oh my God. All these years later, decades later, they go back and they do the story. But yeah, this is this, when I saw this, I was thrilled that they were making it. A 4/5 activates, add an exact clone of this to another location. So I mean, perfect text for him, because he is a clone.
Yeah.
So you're gonna activate this, and now look, it's not a crazy stat line. It's a 4/5, but still, you're going to be able to put this down on 4. And whenever you would like, you're going to put another 4 or 5 somewhere. So it could be turn 5. It could be turn 6, unless, of course, you get him out a little earlier. But what do you think of Scarlet Spider?
Yeah, so I think this could be in the same boat as Symbiote Spider-Man, where off the bat he seems good, but people are going to find something that's probably broken. And the reason is, he's basically doubling once, right?
Yep.
So it's kind of like Black Panther.
Yep.
And I love comparing cards to other cards. If you couldn't tell, I love just comparing cards to exist cards.
Yeah.
Well, Black Panther is a 5/4 that doubles. Scarlet Spider is a 4/5 that doubles. Tell me which one of those is better.
Yeah, that's true.
So, obviously, Black Panther, you try and double up more times with like Wong shenanigans, but that's about it. And so he doesn't see any real play. But just from a stats point, he's a 4/10 essentially.
Yep.
And he's very hard to stop the activate. I mean, you would have to hit him with Red Guardian, which is very hard. Cosmo doesn't stop activates, and so he's a 4/10, but it's spread across 2 lanes, kind of like how Doctor Doom is nice. He spread out his power across lanes. And he can't die to Shang-Chi because he's 2 4/5s. And so already as a base, like he's already decent, right? If you're just playing him like that, like you just put him in a deck, it's just a 4-cost card, like essentially like, oh, here's like a Crossbones, right? Here's just a 4/10 that's spread out. Yep. So it's already good. Obviously you can go with Cerebro 5, which is pretty funny.
Yeah, yep.
But we just talked about Aranya, how Aranya is sitting there waiting for when you have a good target. And so you just play Ranya on 1 or 2 or 3, whenever you want,
or 7,
and then activate on turn 4 when you play Scarlet Spider. He's a 4/7, and now that was only with 1 buff. Okay, that's all you did was just 1, and now you split him, and so now he's a 4/14, and so we're already getting into like some really powerful. We're going tall and wide.
Again, like you said earlier. Yep.
But obviously, of course, they've been pushing like this hand buff stuff. It hasn't really come together too much with like deck buff. Gwenpool's been pretty good, but she costs 4, so it's a bit awkward. If you get lucky, hit with Fastos and draw him on turn 4 or 5.
Yep.
You're also, maybe going to play Forge or America Chavez. But if he gets hit with like Cassandra Nova or Silver Sable, now he's even worse, right? So it kind of goes both ways, depending on the meta. But my guess is people find something that's kind of broken. Aranya's obvious, just to make him a 4/7. That's already probably worth running that combo. You can also hit other stuff with Aranya if you want. But they're going to find something. Like the fact that he's a double up, but you don't need to, shuffle a hammer into your deck and then play the hammer. You don't need to get this Muramasa Shard to your hand and then play it. Like, he's already a good stats after you first play him. He's already, he can double up by himself when you want it. And he could get into potentially a hard location. It is going to be random where he adds himself, so that's kind of a bad thing. But I think he's got good potential. What do you think? And are there any
Yeah.
combos you think could really help him,
Oh,
power up?
um, 4-5, 4-5, 4-7. Yeah, I mean, I think you nailed it. Yeah, if you make him any bigger, and yeah, C5 was where I was going at first. That's what I was thinking
Okay.
of at first. Would be C5 deck. I think would be amazing because you could wait. Like again, you can do this whenever you want to. So
Uh-huh.
you get the Cerebro out, you get the Mystique out, and you could pop two of these out on one turn, or you can put it. You could wait. Yeah, I like that. Um, yeah, look, it's just I can't really see a downside in this card.
Right.
Um, it's just going to give you two big decently big cards in a lane, or in a couple different lanes. So, and like I said, I'm just glad he's in the game. I'm just
Right.
happy.
Yeah, he's gonna be cool. I think this is a fun one. Like Aranya, I'm like, oh, this just looks broken. It's too cheap and easy.
Yep.
Symbiote Spider-Man, if he triggers on reveals, probably find something. This one, I'm like, I could see him finding something that could be broken, but if not, or if he's just good, I think it's just a fun card. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's a really fun ability. It's gonna be cool. It's probably gonna have great animation. All of their
I
new
was gonna,
cards.
yeah,
They've put great animation on all the new cards. Even like Speed's animation is so good. He's like a
yeah,
boring card, but
yep.
they're making all these cards look nice. So I bet it's gonna look really cool when he creates the clone.
Yep. Yeah, the Spider-Man cards, they tend to do pretty well anyway. I mean, obviously when,
That's true.
Spider-Man does the whole swinging
He's
motion and
always
all
had
that.
good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, you're probably right. Yeah. So that is the upcoming month, but I want to talk to you about some of okay. So we're going to get to some of these. I want to skip over but I want to and I think I have the other ones. Let me see if I have them up here.
Which ones are you looking for?
They're a little out of order. Okay. Here we go. So I want to talk to you about, I honestly already think, this obviously are November's cards. I think we're going to get THORSGIVING. They used THORSGIVING in comic books. So I think,
Oh,
I remember
okay.
hearing that, and I'm
It
like,
is the Asgardian season,
it
so
is, and I think it's going to be because it's coming in November, and if you saw some of the data mines, the variants, they're all eating. Doctor Doom has a plate of turkey.
oh, you're right. That's smart.
Death's eating a taco, which
I saw those
was
food
it.
ones. I saw
Yes.
those food ones. I think you're on. I think you have it. I think you hit the
I
nail on the
think they
head.
might be doing THORSGIVING for November, but these are interesting to me, and I'll go through these like quick with you, but the ones I want to point out are, and let me just skip through because they're out of order. But the ones I want to point out specifically are this one. Now Malekith and Frigga are part of the season, but
Yeah.
this card is not. And there are two others that I didn't include in the slides that are not either. I think that him and those other two cards, darn it if I don't have them.
They've got a King Etri Inserter and Agony. Uncle Ben.
Agony is one. But
Lasher?
if you look at the data mines, they are NA at the bottom. They don't say a season. I think they're going to be your snap pack cards. That's what I'm assuming they're going to be, because Tombstone does not fit at all in any sort of Asgardian set. He is a Spider-Man villain, so he does not fit the set. Agony would have gone with the Symbiote set, but she doesn't fit this November set either. So I'm thinking that they are going to be, and when you look at the descriptions for these, right? So Tombstone, for instance, here. Costs 1 if an enemy card is destroyed last turn. Okay, to me, they're all very plain. They're very simple. They have stuff that other cards already have. Miles does this. It's the exact same thing, except you're using destroy instead of move.
Or stature,
so I'm thinking that I could be way off base, but I'm going into my Magic playing a little bit here. But I'm thinking that what these snap packs may be, they might be putting out some they're not going to be any huge things that we see in Series 5 cards, right? I think they're going to be littler effects, similar to maybe other cards, and almost like when Magic would release a pack. You're getting one rare card or one super rare card in a pack. The other ones are mostly commons or uncommons. I would akin these to like an uncommon card. And I don't know that they're going to be put in series. I don't know exactly. And I may be completely wrong. But when I saw that NA, that they weren't listed in a series, I'm thinking to myself, well, what are these snap packs exactly going to be? There's going to have to be cards in them, I would imagine. So I'm kind of thinking that maybe they're parts of those snap packs. I could, like I said, I could be completely wrong, but that's kind of where I was going with it when I saw it. So
Yeah, like, and the data mine was showing that the Snap Pack event, and I think this is Snap.fan data mined.
yep,
You win games to open packs, you earn
yep,
rewards, guaranteed Series 5 card.
yep.
So maybe they end up listing, Tombstone as Series 5.
They could.
Every number of packs you're guaranteed to, there's like a pity counter, so you're guaranteed to open it eventually. And you win games to like turn energy into packs. And there's maybe some currency thing. It says, I don't know if the Black Friday sales, that might be separate something, but yeah. So yeah, maybe it's like Cassandra Nova, where it first comes out and it's not a series. Like Cassandra Nova was just a diner reward.
Right.
Once the diner ended,
Yeah,
she's Series
correct.
5.
Yep,
So maybe
could be.
with Tombstone, it's like that, where he comes out, he's an agony, he's a snap pack card. Once that event, however long it lasts, maybe 2 weeks is over, then they'll be like, okay, these are Series 5 now. So
Yeah.
I could see that. I think that's a very good theory.
Yeah, I think it'll be cool. But let's look at these quick, and I'll trek all the way back here a second. So let's start with we got the wolf here. I don't know. I was trying to think where a wolf would have come from comic book wise, but I think this could be the wolf that was in Ragnarok. I'm not 100% sure. The big wolf that Hela had as a pet is what this wolf could be. I don't know if I'm 100% right or wrong there, but it could be. It's the only wolf I could think of when I was
It
thinking
is.
of
I just looked it up. Fenris makes her live action debut in Marvel Cinematic Thor Ragnarok. Yeah.
So there it is. So that's that gigantic wolf that the Hulk was fighting at the end of Ragnarok. Okay.
Uh-huh.
I kind of figured. I assumed it would be, but he is a 2/3. He activates. He has an activate. So resurrect the highest power discarded or destroyed enemy card to your side of the location. So we're getting some more activate cards here. And yeah, I mean, first thoughts. Like initial, and of course, I would never make you give your stuff away because you're going to do all this on your videos
No worries.
at some point. But yeah, what's your initial thoughts of this one?
Yeah. So I usually don't look at the cards too far out either, because they
Yeah.
get changed so much and before they come in. My
Yeah.
initial thoughts. So it has a good stat line. It's
Mhm.
so tough because it's the discarded or destroyed enemy card.
Yep.
So you have to, obviously you're thinking like some Silver Samurai synergy or Black Bolt or Moon Knight. Because Silver Samurai or Black Bolt, usually you're hitting a pretty low cost card. But with Moon Knight, you play Fenris Wolf on 2, Moon Knight on 3. You might hit a 6 cost, in which case you activate Fenris and you may just won the game if you hit like a good 6 cost. So I think it's probably maybe that's why they changed Moon Knight even. And the activate's nice because you don't have to bring it back right away.
Yep.
And you're gonna know hopefully what you're bringing back, unless you're against a destroy or discard deck. So I think it's gonna be a kind of tech card. Maybe sees a little bit of play like Silver Samurai if it's your style, but it is a bit inconsistent working with your opponent's stuff. Usually discard prefers just to do its own thing and, discard your own hand and get your own power. But, just decent power already, 2/3. So this one's probably gonna be a fun one. What about
You
you?
know what I was thinking of this as? A Hela counter.
Oh, yeah, you could. I mean,
Constantly discarding those big cards out of their hands.
it's true. And I think if you resurrect it, let's say they discard Infinite. I bet if
Mhm.
you resurrect Infinite, your opponent's Hela could not bring it back.
Yep. Because
So
you're
that'd be
technically taking
good.
your card. Yeah.
And you could just run like Fenris Wolf, Black Bolt. Like that could be,
Mhm.
you have like a Black Bolt stature deck.
Yep.
And you just have Fenris Wolf. And if you're against a normal deck, that's fine. You're gonna, Black Bolt discard something. But if you get lucky and you're against a Hela, oh, now you have this Fenris Wolf who's actually not just synergizing with you, but as a big counter. So I
Yep.
could see that. I like that. I like
Yep.
doing a simple package, but you could get big counters off a Hela.
I know that they had said when Hela became super popular, they're like, well, there's things in the works for Hela. So I'm like, I took a look at this and I'm like, ooh,
This must be it. I think you're right. Yeah.
Could be a Hela counter. So, all right, Surtur, obviously also in Thor Ragnarok. Lot of stuff from Ragnarok in this set.
Yeah.
Surtur, when he was data mined, was ridiculous because it was give +10 power to him when the Human Torch moves to his same lane. which was almost like the torch was igniting his fire. And so, which technically is the lore. I mean, they had to light the crown on fire to bring him back. So it's kind of a thing. So I don't know if that's what they were thinking, but he's a 3/3. After you play a card with card power difference plus power, this guy, that they changed
my Snap.fan right now shows for me after you play a card with 10 plus power, this
10 plus. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, they changed this. I was gonna try to get the new slide, but so it's 10 plus power. He gains +4. So, oh man, I mean, Mockingbird, all the big cards that are out there, you can get this guy pretty big, I would imagine, for a 3 cost. So I don't know. He seems like if you're playing a lot of big power cards, I was thinking of that Thanos deck that I was playing with all the crossbones and with the Scar and with the Cull and all, and a Mockingbird in there. You're looking 4, 8, 12, 6. You're looking at a 319 if you had all those cards in there. So I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be super popular. Fenris Wolf, I think, is better. And then we'll have to talk about Gore, which I don't know if I had the slide for Gore in here, but we'll talk about him anyway. But yeah, so what early thoughts on Surtur?
I think it's cool. It makes me think first of a Big Dumb Idiots deck.
Yes.
Where you may look into play Surtur turn 3, turn 4, may you slap down a Crossbones.
Yep.
Turn 5, if you can save Scar, that would be good. So maybe you do Crossbones turn 4, that puts Surtur as a 3/7. Turn 5, if you can just drop a Obsidian or something, that puts Surtur at a 3/11. So now you've actually got 3 10-powered cards. So then Scar is free. And then once you play Scar, Surtur goes up to 3/15. So, but if you ever get Scar to like 3/19, you probably already won from all the others. He does look a bit Winmore, and he doesn't have huge. He doesn't have any tech, and you'd have to play the card. It wouldn't work if like Hela brings stuff back.
Right.
I could see it. Even if you're right, if you're just getting down like 2 things like Mockingbird and something else, you're looking at 3/11. That feels pretty dang good. So
it was pretty good for a 3 card.
As data mined, I agree. This looks pretty good. This one could be good.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right, let me go to the next one if I have it. Let me see if I have it here. I thought I had all the slides, but okay. Well, Malekith doesn't have text, and neither does Frigga. So they're going to be both part of that. Malekith is the Dark Elf from Thor 2. He should probably be good, I would imagine. And then Frigga doesn't have text either. But I don't have Gore. If you maybe can pull up Gore real quick, if you don't mind, and we can.
Yeah. Oh, I have it. I have it right here. Okay. Awesome. So Gore, 6 cost.
Yep.
-3 power. Crazy stat line. I haven't read this before, so this is new to me.
Yep.
It has an ongoing ability. +2 power for each on-reveal card in play. So if you have, Gore is a 6 cost -3. If you have, let's say, 5 on-reveal cards in play, that's +10 for Gore himself.
Yep.
And so that would just be a 6/7. So you need more than 5. I mean, really, to make it worth it, you would want. Oh wait, but it's in play. It's not just on your side of the board. It counts your opponent's cards.
So it counts for them. Yeah.
Yeah, it just says in play. So that makes it really matchup dependent. If you're against an ongoing deck, you're not getting much value. But if you're against like a bounce deck, and it's ongoing, so it counts the last turn. I mean, if your opponent just has 3 on reveals, and you're probably playing all on reveals, so we'll say you can probably get down 6 if you're counting like cheap cards. You play the Cape Bishop and just other cheap stuff. If you have 6, that's +12. If your opponent just has 3 down, that's another 6. So that's 18. So that'd be a 6/15. And obviously they're starting off, at least for now, it's a -3 power to start. So they're expecting that there's going to be a lot of on reveals in game. I'd have to go look at the average game and see how many are on the board. But it could be a 6/15 or higher. But it seems very matchup dependent, which seems maybe a bit tough, right?
First thing I thought of was Mr. Negative.
Okay.
Because he's got the -3. And then I went to.
Oh, you're right. That would be That would be crazy. He starts off at a 0-6.
Yep.
Mr. Negative, Psylocke, Zabu are all on reveals.
Yep.
You're playing Sage or Ironheart, Wolfsbane. Those are all on reveals.
Yep.
Oh, that could be crazy. Or
Yep.
just Ravana. Just hit Gore with Ravana.
Yep. Yep. That's the first thing I went to. His data mine card was actually so much cooler, but I knew it wasn't going to release the way it did. His data mine card had said that he kills all 6 when he's played. He destroys every 6 cost card that's on the board.
It says wherever they are.
Wherever they are.
Snap.fan has the old data mine ability, like anytime a card change. Yeah, destroy all 6 cards wherever they are. So that means in your deck too. It would be
completely broken. But it would have been so cool to the lore. And I'm sure that's probably why they put that there as a placeholder, because that's what he was. In the comics, he was a
god butcher.
Yeah.
That's what it says under. It says Gore the God Butcher. And he has so many variants. He already has 7 variants data mined.
Yeah, I saw that. That's
or
crazy.
a 6, I guess, data mined. That's crazy.
Yeah. He was an amazingly cool character, and he was played by Christian Bale in the Thor movie, but I really hated the way they did it. It really was just didn't do the character any justice. But yeah. I don't know, man. I'm excited. There's cool stuff coming out here. I mean, and of course we didn't even talk about the season that we're getting, the symbiotes as well, which is going to be insane. I mean, we're getting Flash Thompson's Spider-Man symbiote that's in there, which is Agent Venom. So a lot of cool stuff that's just coming into the game. But yeah, like what are some of the things that, besides the cards themselves, what are some of the things that you're most looking forward to in the game?
Yeah, so obviously we're gonna see what kind of new game modes they come out with. And they've teased and all the data mine, talked about like the packs thing we talked about.
Yep.
We're gonna see, they're gonna keep working on leagues. I'm excited for them to bring back, when they bring back Deadpool's Diner. I mean, I'm excited because you get more free card. Hopefully it's another free card.
Yep.
So that will be fun to play. And I just kind of new stuff to keep things fresh. And hopefully they have another roadmap soon-ish, and their last one mentioned draft mode. That maybe has moved up a bit higher on the roadmap, or they have another game. I would like a long-term game mode. Deadpool's Diner was fine, but I think once they implement a long-term game mode, it will actually be different gameplay-wise. Or a draft mode, how it's different, right? Deadpool's Diner, you pick your own deck and everything. It's very normal except for the snapping. So I'm excited to see what the future holds there, and what the future holds for second dinner events. They've done like the Conquerors events. They've tried different things. Some have worked, some haven't worked so well. So they'll be trying out different things. I'm excited just to see. New cards are always cool. New stuff is cool. I'm excited to see mostly where the game goes, and where the community goes, where the events go, what that looks like, especially after going to SNAPCon. Knowing these big events happen, whether it's hosted by Second Dinner or like Newverse or just the community. It's always cool to see. And so I'm kind of looking forward to that. What's the next thing? Whoever's hosting it, I don't know. Whether it's a Second Dinner official thing or it's an unofficial thing, whether it's in person or online thing. I'm just excited to keep an eye out, because I'm sure more will come. It's going to be cool.
Yeah.
What about you? What are you most looking forward to?
I agree. I think, well, first off, I think the Snap Packs thing is our introduction to draft. I think that's going to be the little teaser for the draft mode. And I think that's why they're doing it. Because to me, when I first heard draft was announced, I'm like, I don't know how they're going to do that without having a pack system of some sort. Because every draft I've ever been to, regardless of whether it was Magic drafts where I sat live in person across from the player, or I played online, you draft packs. So you can draft cards. You can I'm sure they could do that and make it just random, just everybody gets just the like different card sets and stuff like that. But I think it would just be easier with packs. So I do think that's coming soon. For me, yeah, I agree with you. I enjoyed Deadpool's Diner. Hey, look, we got a free card. I think that's fine. And yes, it had its little nuances at the beginning where people didn't realize it. I was okay going in because I ended up watching Guest Gaming's video that he did, which kind of sucked that they didn't let them put that out a little earlier, so more people could have seen it. but I kind of went in knowing, like, I knew exactly what I was doing. And when I got in, I'm like, okay, I know I have to play a couple tables back because I don't want to lose all my stuff. So I'm just going to do that. And I'm just going to climb and climb and climb and climb that way. And I was perfectly fine. I got the card. But yeah, so I want to see more like that. I'd like to see some more little changes to alliances as well. I like the fact that you can share decks. I think I heard this on the Kids Snap show today. I would like you to be able to share screenshots of the game.
Oh, that'd be cool.
I love that idea
Take an
from them.
in-game screenshot. Just not allow you to send other pictures from your phone, but you could just
correct, because then
maybe
you can get
something in the game where you can save a cat, like save an image from that game. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I thought that was a great idea because obviously, you can't be sharing pictures from your phone because God only knows where that could go. But yeah, I thought that was a wonderful idea because I'm like, yeah, why not, man? Like if you win a game or something and you wanted to capture the screenshot there and be like, hey, look at this, I casseroled this, blah blah blah, I did this. I think that would be neat. A little more interaction and stuff with the alliance and stuff like that. So I think that would be cool. What else? Maybe just some little, and again, I'm not going to complain about the monetary side of it because that is what it is. That they need to do what they need to do to keep the game going. I understand that, and stuff, but I don't know. Maybe change the regular collection level caches a little bit. Maybe every now and then, put something like as a little. Remember when we got the holiday cards? And they were giving you those holiday cards just on your
variants.
Track. Yeah. Maybe just do something like
fun.
that. Yeah.
Make it a bit more fun or cool experience opening caches.
Yeah. I'm not saying all the time, I'm not saying all the time, but do them maybe for something silly, like maybe with those food variants, right? During Thanksgiving.
That'd be a good one.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what they'll do, actually. Maybe that's the plan.
Yeah, maybe. And you could pull some of you won't get them all the time, but maybe you'll get 1 or 2 or 3 of them. And I'd also like to see them bring the what do they call it? The unbalanced patches. I'd like to see them do those.
Oh, yeah.
I love those. I thought they were great. I love those where you have to start using some different cards that you may have not played with before and stuff like that.
It's a good way to shift up the meta. My guess is because they did 2 kind of near each other. One was like
Avengers,
the Lovers one, like the
X-Men,
February Valentine's one, and the other one's the Avengers X-Men.
Yep.
And so, we talked about earlier with Deadpool's Diner and like players paying time. I think their goal of the imbalance patch, whatever it's called, was to get people to play more.
Yep.
And then they didn't do it. They did those 2 and then they stopped. And so my guess was it didn't increase playtime. And they're like, we don't want to do that, So, but I enjoyed it. I thought maybe you do. It was kind of hard because it worked in the whole collection. It changed your cards everywhere. But maybe, we talk about like a draft mode. Maybe there's a mode where it's like imbalance mode where maybe, the Hulk normally is a 612. Maybe in imbalance mode, Hulk's like a 615, like forever. You know what I mean? Like maybe it works the same, but maybe cards are just different. But that kind of creates 2 completely separate metas. I don't know if they would do that, but you could do fun stuff like that. I personally enjoyed it too. It shaked things up, right? It made things new.
Agreed. And I like the fact that they touched up locations. I love that in this patch. I am so thrilled they got rid of the peak. Oh my God, I hated that. Hated it. I was so, when I saw that, I near wanted to rejoice. I'm like, oh my God, that almost
ruined me. And they changed Weird World. It was
Weird World got changed. Yeah. And so I'm glad they're doing that, paying attention to some of these locations that have been, they kind of overstayed their welcome. A lot of them were kind of oppressive. And the one, I forget the name of the one. What's the one that destroys the rest of your hand, but then you just have that little bit of a hand left. Each player has Lamentus one. They got rid of that too. I didn't mind that one so much because it was like you were playing a different game, but it was kind of luck of the draw.
And if you were playing Loki, you just win if you got your Loki.
Exactly. You did. Yeah. Either that or if you're playing Destroy and you have a null in your hand. I mean, you're just going to win the game. But I'm glad they're doing that, and I'm glad they're looking at locations a little bit, and they're looking to change them up a little bit if they're not great. So I do enjoy that. Honestly, the only one gripe I really have about the game is I don't like hot locations. I just don't. To me,
I agree.
I don't think they're, to me, I think they could use their time better on something different than that. I know they like to spotlight locations and stuff, and the new ones I'm okay with. If you want to do that for a day and you want to spotlight a new location just to let everybody get a chance to play on it, I'm fine with that. The other ones I just don't necessarily need, because a lot of times what I've seen
They're
is
so
that
polarizing.
they are. And a lot of times you're on your journey, right? You're on your way to trying to climb the ladder. And the next thing you know, well, then you're seeing players, okay, I can't play for 24 hours. Now I got to go play Conquest because I don't want to play a
I feel
destroyed
the
deck
same
for
way.
24 hours.
I know.
And yeah, I'm the same way too. So that, I think, that is something that they could say goodbye to. I don't think that necessarily has to be done anymore. I think they could change that up to something else and just go somewhere different with that. But other than that, man, I am the way that I play, the play style that I play, and things like that. I'm happy with the game. I'm enjoying it. I'm having fun with it. And I tell people all the time, I love this game a lot because I grew up reading comics, and I get to see these characters that I've seen in comic books or comic book covers, like we mentioned before, that I had when I was 7 or 8 years old, and that's fantastic to me. I absolutely think that that's a great thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's fun. And I love the artwork. I love all the new variants that come out.
Yep.
It's great. It's one of my favorite things of the game is getting the new variants and going for cool splits. I love it. I just love the visuals.
What do you think about the new borders? I know that they're out there too, like, or the backgrounds. Like, I know there was the banana one. They had bananas.
Oh yeah, all the data. They look fun. I think I'm still gonna go for I go for inked cards.
I love the inked cards too.
I think I'm gonna stick with that, but I like it that they're adding new options. I think people are gonna enjoy it. However they introduce them, there's a lot, so you might have to buy them like card borders where it's like gold.
You might. Yeah, you might.
Because there's so many, it'd be annoying actually if you're trying to get inked and you keep getting bananas with little Deadpool faces or hearts. But it's gonna be funny seeing people with like a deck of full banana backgrounds or the water background or whatever. It's cool, right? More visual customization.
Yep.
It's just good.
I like what they did to the not the foil, but the one after
the prism.
Yeah, they look amazing.
Looks much better. It looks cool. People enjoy it. I've seen full prism decks.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely noticeable. It's definitely different now. So it is a good change. Great quality of life change.
Yeah, I agree. I got that new Titania from the Conquest thing, which, oh my god, I love that one. And in her, if you have her with the prism, it looks like she's breaking like the whole pane of glass that's on the card. So it's really cool.
That's true.
Yeah, it's really cool. All right, man. Well, listen, I have kept you for over 2 hours, so I'm not gonna take up any more of your time. But yeah, like, final thoughts, obviously, on anything you want to throw out there. Whether or not, again, I thank you for letting me know about SNAPCon. I know it sounded like an amazing time, and like you said, I hope that they continue on with that. I hope that's able to, do what it needs to do to be able to keep moving on. And some great people are behind it and stuff like that. And like I said, I, for one, I need to get to the next one, because just from what I'm hearing from you and the kid and No Big Deal and everybody else, I heard it was an amazing time, and that it should inspire a lot of people that listen to this kind of stuff to want to go to that one.
Yeah, and Snap's a fun game. It's a good time, but my favorite part now is definitely the community.
Yeah.
Just getting to know other people, other players, other content creators. It's really what keeps me, playing the game. I've never been so active in a video game community before, and it's just awesome. And whether, I got people in my Discord, I have new people, I have people, today someone said, they're uninstalling. Like, games come and go, which game you're playing. Everyone has kind of an expiration date on, how long a game brings you joy for, and that's okay. That's completely fine. If it doesn't bring you joy, you can stop. But it's just so many great people I've met through Snap, and it's just awesome to see. We really do have a great community.
I agree.
And it keeps me playing. Maybe if I wasn't so involved with people, maybe I would have stopped a while ago. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
So it's definitely my favorite part. And regardless of which new cards come out, if they're busted or not, I'm gonna be having a good time just from all my friends in the community. So it's just awesome to see.
Yep. 100% agree. That's why I do it. I do it because I love it, and like I said, just getting to know people like yourself and people who have come on my show and have honored me by coming on. I love it, and you're right. It is an amazing community. I have a podcast that I do in another community, and it's nowhere near as friendly as this one, unfortunately. but yeah, so yeah, it really is a fun time, and I know I'm going to steal Alex Coach's. It's a fun time to be a Marvel Snap player. But yeah, it really is. So listen, man, thank you so much again. Before we go, Docty, one more time, tell everybody where they can find you in your amazing video previews for all of the new cards that are coming out. So again, if you guys are on the fence and you're wondering and you're on a bit of a budget on Snap, because listen, a lot of us probably are. You're going to want to go check Docty's videos out. He does videos on every single new card. All these ones that we talked about, you're going to get extended previews of them on his channel. So where exactly can they find you? I know you're on YouTube.
Yep, YouTube. It's at Docty_Snap. And, enjoy. Let me know what you think of cards. I love, not just give my own opinion, but hearing others' opinions. And, that helps shape my view as well. So it's a good time to all kind of, try and predict the new card together. Let's see if we're right, when we're wrong, why were we wrong. It's just fun trying to, think of what the game's going to be like when this new card comes out.
Yep, absolutely, 100%. All right, guys, that is going to do it for this episode of Snap Decisions. If you are watching from YouTube, please make sure that you sub to the channel. Make sure you drop a like on this. It helps me fight that little algorithm thing that YouTube's got going on that I'm sure Docty knows all the well about. Yeah, so nothing for me tomorrow. I'm still trying to get with Safety Blade, but Safety's very busy with work, and I totally understand that. I do have another video that will be on this channel on Wednesday. That will be a Twitch streamer, obviously Twitch streamer and pro wrestler. Her name is Leva, and she will be joining me on Wednesday, so that'll be awesome. Both my little hobbies outside of my that I love the most in life, I combine into one. So join me for that one. If you haven't already checked out, I do have the audio podcast that is already released earlier today, so please check that out. Like Docty said, leave me comments. I love and will respond to any comments that are left on my videos. Also, you can do that on Spotify now. I know when you listen to the podcast on audio, please give me comments, suggestions, anything at all. I will definitely respond to those. And watch out, I will be doing another season pass giveaway, obviously when the new season starts. So check that out on my X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. This is your Snap DJ signing off. Have a great night, everybody. Please stay safe, be kind to one another, and hopefully I will see you all on the next episode of Snap Decisions. Good night, everybody.
You own